Okay, we are almost 100% on time, almost 100% ready to go. With me, I have the wonderful ReDeYe. How you doing, ReDeYe?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. And mislabeled in the Skype chat, but he will be fixed in a moment. From Complexity, we have the player manager. Give it up for Beef. Beef, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm glad to be here. You asked me to come on, and I was like, that sounds like a real good time. So glad to see that we're here, and looking forward to what we're doing.
Glad to have you on. It was I had some. What did we eat? What'd you get? I think you got beef when we went out to dinner in Detroit, wasn't it? Some kind of.
I got like some chicken actually.
No, the guy next to you got to the steak. You're right. You're right. He did.
That's right. That was Puck.
Puck had good steak. That was good.
He did.
Puck steak.
I had
was
alligator
delicious.
too. That's right.
Yeah. Oh my god, the alligator bites. Those were good.
Alligator was good. Yeah.
All right, and adding screen region because a little bit of setup wouldn't be the late game if we weren't still doing a little bit of setup. Look at this handsome devil. Bam. We've got Kane coming in from Complexity. How you doing, Kane?
Complexity?
Oh, Jesus Christ. My insanity.
That's alright. Yeah. Hello.
Where are you at right now? You still over in Europe?
Yeah, I just got back from Sweden this weekend, and now I'm in Switzerland again.
Yeah? How's Switzerland?
Expensive. Really expensive. Everything in Europe is expensive.
Yeah.
I spent $30 at a Burger King yesterday for like
That was
a
for
medium-sized meal.
fries.
Yeah, pretty much. It's quite ridiculous, but their salaries are quite high here, so it's understandable.
Damn. That's... So wait, like you have a... I assume you're going to say you have like a living wage off a salary in Europe.
Yeah, like my insanity pays me a salary, but...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I meant... I thought you said that the salary was high for like fast food workers.
Oh, yeah, for everybody, actually, yeah.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I think minimum wage works out to be something like 20 US dollars an hour or something like that.
Damn.
So it's quite high.
Goodness gracious. So you guys can't see it, but Destiny is not here. I don't know where he is. But we were also going to have Slash run, but he had some errands to do, so that is not going to happen today. And we're also going to fill in the... Yeah, I know, right? We're going to fill in the topics as we go along with them. ReDeYe, how was your weekend?
It wasn't too bad actually. It was quite a nice weekend for me. I had a bit of a busman's holiday actually.
Yeah?
I don't know if that's a phrase the Americans use, but
It is not. Why don't you explain it to us?
well, basically, instead of hosting an event, I actually went to an event that was hosted by other people, so I got a chance to watch them work. Was quite nice, but it was still esports. It was still an esports event. It was EGX Eurogamer London, which was at Earl's Court. So yeah, I went up there for Saturday. Met up with the TCM guys who I used to work with, and hung out with them for pretty much most of the day and the evening. Went to the party in the evening. It was pretty fun. And I also did a talk on esports broadcasting when I was there for about an hour and did a Q&A. So it was quite interesting.
Is it all kind of along the lines of the guides you've been releasing?
Yeah, a little bit. It's sort of condensed into about 30 minutes though, because it was a 30-minute talk on how to get into esports broadcasting, which I don't know. I mean, I could talk for hours about that. I mean, half an hour is barely able to scratch the surface, but it was it was a chance to talk to a few people that were budding commentators and people that were streamers and are trying to make the jump between streaming regularly on Twitch and suddenly realizing that actually they've got a few hundred or a few thousand fans and they now need to start being a bit more professional. So it was just to help them out. It was good.
Good. What do you do this weekend, Beef?
I had a wedding on Saturday, and the entire time I was dipping out of the reception to go watch my Dota 2 team play in matches on my phone, and just cursing up a storm because we played Sneaky Nick's Assassins 3 times in best of 3s this weekend, lost all of them 1-2, no longer going to ESL New York. Like,
Boo.
I was really looking forward to being over there, seeing ReDeYe again, and didn't quite happen, but just trials and tribulations of being the general manager of an organization and just working on everything, working 20 hours a day. That's about it.
Hey, that's the dream, right? That's what we're all here for.
That's right. That's right.
And Destiny is here, and he has screwed up my screen region, so we're going to adjust that.
Wait, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, man?
God damn it, Steven.
You know what, ReDeYe? I'm sick of your attitude already.
God damn it.
Steve, what'd you do this weekend? That's what we're talking about.
Nothing exciting. Just played CS:GO. Rip.
Did you get rank? Have you ranked up at all?
Nope, I ringed down. I'm back down to Silver 5.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I played subscriber games and they didn't go very well. I probably won't do that on ranked anymore.
No.
I wouldn't even have taken that risk.
I
That was very nice of you.
Much about my ranks.
Yeah, we had that discussion last week. Screaming Beef, you're coming back. Okay, so the weekend we're waiting to get to is Kane. Kane, why don't you talk a little bit about your weekend and how things went?
Yeah, so I went to DreamHack Stockholm, and it was a lot of fun. It was one of my first DreamHacks, so it was really cool. Met lots of people, and just had a good time overall. The finals and the semifinals were really cool. DreamHack always puts on a really nice show, really good production, and it's just a lot of fun to be at those events. At least this one was. I hope the other ones are just as good.
I hear a lot of good things about the organization. So from a, I guess, player perspective, but not necessarily on your playing side, what's it like getting there and having those caliber of that caliber of player to meet and hang out with as a fellow player?
I would say like the pro player community is pretty tight. A lot of us are pretty good friends, so it's kind of like just meeting up with a friend that you haven't seen for a few months when you go to an event like that. So it's really nice, and it's really nice to play them and to practice with them and to meet them in the tournaments. It's always a bit sad because it's like you're killing one of your friends, but it's something you have to deal with as a pro player and as a competitive StarCraft player. So it's a lot of fun overall.
I guess there are worse things you could have to deal with than having to kill a friend in a game.
Exactly. Yeah. If that's the least of your, if that's the most of your worries, you have a pretty good life, I think.
Right?
So, yeah.
So let's go into your play a little bit. Where did you fall out?
I fell out in group stage 2. I got life and first in my group.
Oh.
And those guys are pretty good.
Long players.
Easy,
yeah.
Kane. They're absolutely easy. No problem at all.
Yeah, so I kind of got screwed in that. Most of the players, most of the groups had one Korean and one foreigner. So I would have preferred one of those groups, but I mean, there's no excuses to be made, really. If you lose, you lose.
Mm-hmm.
And if you lose in group stage 2 to 2 Koreans, chances are that you're not going to make it very far in the tournament anyways. So, yeah, I mean, it could have went better, but I was pretty happy overall, especially because it was my first event and it was first DreamHack at least, and it was really fun.
I think it's definitely important that you were happy with your results. It's going to leave a good taste in your mouth when you go back for the next one. Beef, when you get, I guess, deal with QXC's been a seasoned player for a long time, but you have some younger players on your team too. When they have to go through that experience of traveling all the way to that tournament and they get knocked out,
Sure.
really early, how do you go back and recuperate for that?
You kind of, just like anything in life, you have to take the positives out of it. It's certainly an immediate disappointment for them when they do get eliminated, especially in that second round, third round, first day, something along those lines. But you have to take the positives out of it, and that's being able to see all of your friends, being able to talk strategy with them, and then, of course, being able to get that experience of just being there on LAN. For a lot of these guys, if it is one of their first events, you can get those LAN jitters. You don't have the experience of being up on a stage, and every time that you're up there, you get more and more comfortable in the environment, and that means that you're going to be able to do something a little bit better in the future. So a lot of times it's just about trying to find the positive in there, because it certainly is going to suck as soon as you have to type that GG, but if you want to do anything in life, you just got to take those licks and keep on walking.
Definitely, absolutely. So, going to you, ReDeYe, I've seen you console players. You got the WCS stage, and you walk up and you're talking to them. Obviously, it's very hard. I mean, yeah, that's a small crowd, but there's people watching on stream, but nonetheless, you were that close. You were that close to getting all those points. Getting closer to the money, getting closer to your chance of BlizzCon for some of these people. I guess as a player, but not in StarCraft 2, what do you feel? Like, how does it feel when you see that and you're in person and you know these people, you talk to them behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think that's the point, isn't it? It's like you know, because I've been very fortunate enough to meet a lot of the StarCraft players, and you know, when you're doing WCS and you're doing IEM, it becomes a bit like a travelling circus. You end up seeing the same faces over and over again wherever you go around the world. It's like the same 50 people. And slowly but surely you get to know some of these people and you end up being friends with them as well. And I'm very, very lucky that I have a lot of friends in StarCraft, in the pro players. And, you know, they know that I'm not I'm not an expert when it comes to StarCraft, but I love the game and I love the players. I love watching what they bring to the table. And for some of them, I also know how hard it is for them, you know, how much effort they put in and how much practice they put in, and the kind of sacrifices that they have to make just to be a, you know, without any sort of, you know, demeaning them in any way, but an average pro player with still godly talents to be able to play StarCraft. But in the pro scene, they are, you know, they're not quite there yet, and it's harsh watching them lose. You know, there's many a times where two players are playing, and I'm like, God, I don't want to interview either of them after this because, you know, I'm going to feel for the other one because it's harsh. But so you do, or I do at least, I do end up with an emotional attachment to many players, if not all of them. So watching them lose is never easy.
No, Destiny. Do you have any input on that before we move on?
I mean, team, like, in terms of like team killing and knocking out somebody that you like, or in terms of
I guess just your perspective on it.
I mean, in regards to the team killing, or in regards to just playing in lands in general?
Well, just playing in lands in general. I mean, you know, I was with you when you that potato knocked you out, and
sure. I mean, everything that Complexity Beef said was true. The more that you play at lands, the easier it becomes. Especially if it's like your first or second time showing up at a LAN, it can be really difficult. You have a lot of jitters. I mean, I agree with all of that. Here's an interesting question for Kane. So it's kind of related. Do you think it's easier, in talking about life being your group? For me, it's always been easier to play against players that are way better than me because I know that I'm supposed to lose. So like I feel like a lot more comfortable in this game versus playing against somebody that's close to your skill level because you really, you shouldn't lose. What do you think about that? Do you agree with all of that, or is that like something that plays in your mind at all? Or?
I 100% agree with that. I know in your tournament I had Liquid Hero and Life in my group, and I went in there expecting to get 0-4 or 0-6 or something like that, and I actually ended up beating both of them. It's so much easier to play when there's absolutely no pressure on you, and when you're not
like
expected to win.
Everybody expects you to lose. It's like, whatever, fuck it, like, I'll just play and...
And versus First and DreamHack, like he's a very good player, but he's not like tip top Korean. He's not like CJ Hero or somebody like that. So I was kind of expecting myself. I put some pressure on myself to win, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of sucked when I lost. Yeah, there was definitely some pressure on me to win.
So
yeah,
from that pressure to win and all that, we talked a little bit about DreamHack. Let's move into ZVZ a bit. Finals is pretty crazy, and I'd like your opinion on it, both Destiny and Kane. As far as a lot of comments were, looks like Terran.
This was over really fast. This was like a quick 3-0, right? Am I thinking of the right one, or am I thinking of a different series?
You are, yep.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? It's ZVZ. Fuck.
I mean, we kind of hashed that out a little bit last week. I mean, so what did you feel about Zerg in this tournament? I mean, obviously these are very powerful Zergs. And one of these guys is he's been in the last 3 GSL finals. This is going to be his 4th one. Very strong players. I mean, were we just seeing Zergs better than people, or Zerg, have an edge in this particular tournament?
That's all you, Kane.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in my opinion, right now the game is very balanced, so... despite what people want to say, I think that in a variety of different tournaments, you'll have like different races in the finals, which is really nice. It's not like a era of Protoss or Terran dominance or anything like that. I think the game is in a really good state in terms of balance right now. I can't say in terms of entertainment value. I don't know what fans like to watch, but in terms of balance, I would say that this tournament, it just so happened that there were 2 Zergs in the finals, and one of them happens to be a 4-time GSL finalist. So.
Very true.
Yeah, I would agree with that as a fan. As a watcher, it's quite interesting actually. I think back 12 months ago to the the Protoss domination. And it's been there for quite a while. I mean, I remember Stephen. I couldn't go on a show with Stephen for about 3 months because the Protoss rants would come out, and he mostly was right. And so yeah, I agree with Kane. I think the ZVZ final at DreamHack was just one of those. It could have been 2 Terrans, could have been 2 Protoss, could have been one of each. We just didn't know, and that's the great thing. That's why the game's so good right now, because it's, I think it's as close to being nicely balanced as we've ever had it. To be fair.
Looking at the I don't you guys I didn't watch the particular games, but just looking at the round of 16, it doesn't look like there were any major upsets with like mediocre Zergs beating really good players. Like Jaedong beating Classic, but Jaedong's been doing good recently. So I mean, Solar beating Bunny is to be expected, I would think.
Yep. Jaedong hasn't been playing very well recently, but he was really confident going into DreamHack. And he said, and he felt really good, and he doesn't usually say stuff like that if he's...
Unless he means it,
yeah, unless he means it. So I sort of looked at that and went, yeah, that's about right.
Su beating Ryang, Patience, 4GG, I mean... Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look... There's not like a whole bunch of like... No, these aren't like a bunch of no-name Zergs that are just like, stampeding through tournaments all of a sudden. Like, I don't think there are any major upsets here. I think these are
I think the only thing I thought about the last 16 was that there was actually not many Protoss in there, which... I don't know if that was because the level of Protoss was a little bit lower than normal, maybe. I don't know. But that was, that's really being picky as well.
Sure. I do think that Protoss got hit. We talked about this a little bit the last show, too. Protoss are in the unfortunate circumstance where I think that they were a little bit overpowered at one point in time. But what happened is people started to figure out how to play against it, and on the end of everybody kind of figuring out how to deal with it, then the nerfs came along. That might have been good. Yeah. So Protoss are like in a little bit of like an ultra fuck in state right now, where it's like PvT. I feel like PvT almost completely swung back around, where it was like poor Terrans, like Jesus, like I feel like even Avillo, like I feel sorry for him having to play PvPs, and now it's like
I don't feel sorry.
The game isn't over. If the game isn't over by like the 8-9 minute mark, it's just like Terran's like manhandling Protoss now, like it's brutal. So I mean, I don't know, yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether it's because I've got better or not, but I'm having a much easier time than I used to as a Terran, that's for sure. Even at a lowly level. But there was one point last year where I just could not play the game because every time I played it, it just made me mad.
Yeah. Terran versus Zerg has also gotten, I think the Widowmine buff helped quite a bit.
With TVZ, both to play it and to watch it, actually. I've always thought it's probably the most dynamic of all the matchups, just because it's so much fun to watch, and I have quite a lot of fun playing as well.
People mixing in mech a little bit. I don't know, Mech. Kane would know better than me. Are players mixing in mech more at the highest level too, or is it still almost exclusively bio?
You'll see mech once in a while. It was kind of like before, like there's certain players who tend to go mech every game,
Sure.
And then there's players like MMA and stuff who mix it in once in a while, but it's kind of the same as before.
But even Happy on the round of 16 did both, and I'm sitting there going, "Hang on a minute, this is Happy."
Happy always plays bio nowadays, actually, and yeah, I don't know.
He mixed in both. He had three games, and he bio first map, and then he went mech, and I was like, "What?" Yeah, it's really weird. It's good though.
I really agree that I think it is in a good state of balance. We're not seeing one-sided. We're seeing a lot of different variations in the finals and all that. I mean, yeah, we have mirror match finals. This time we had a TVT at IEM. I definitely
actually isn't it the last 3 before DreamHack? There was a PvP, a TVT, and a ZVZ.
I really think it is a good state of balance. It's a matter of who's the better player at this time. But Destiny brought up a great point last week. We got into it a little bit. When do you patch? Because there are balance issues. And someone posted the StarCraft talk show. What's it called? The Korean one? Star Talk or
yeah, I know the one you mean.
Yeah, and one thing they were talking about a lot was Brood War, and some would say you can't compare Brood War to StarCraft 2. It is a very much different game. I'll completely agree with that. But Destiny made the point last week. He made the analogy like the banhammer's coming, right, or the nerf bat or whatever. And as things start to get really balanced, as people start to adapt, like okay, I know what I need to do to make Protoss not walk all over me as a Terran. bam, there comes the Widowmine nerf, and now Protoss are completely screwed because not only have Terran figured him out, but they now have the buffed Widowmine. So how do we, not let things get out of hand? We don't completely go hands off.
I think it's an ongoing thing. I mean, I've always said this about any game. It's not just StarCraft. There's a lot of games out there that take an incredible amount of brain power from many people to sit down and figure out how to change things. And I think it's quite nice. I mean, I know that David King gets an awful lot of stick, and some of it, in fact, most of it's unwarranted, in my opinion. But what he does do is he's very thoughtful, and sometimes that means we're a little bit slow to add stuff into the game that maybe, we as players or you top pro players see very fast. But he wants it to try and bed in to see where it is. Now, I think Destiny's right as well when he says that, actually this patch came along just at the point where I think everyone had figured it out. And there were still little things that needed to change, but not quite maybe so much. But it's the same in every game. It takes a long time to actually see a game settle down, for the meta to kind of evolve, if you like, and then once it has, to then make a decision on what you change. I mean, look at the patch updates for Dota recently. I mean, it's freaking crazy. Yeah. My head's exploding trying to get my head around some of it, and then it got patched again yesterday. So
they patch Dota much less frequently, though, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah, they do. But I mean, the last one was back in, I don't know, March earlier this year. Yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago in that respect, but it still takes, my point is it's the same across all games. I think it's an evolution process. It's not, we're going to get to a point where we perfectly balance the game and we can leave it alone for the rest of eternity. I don't think any game's like that anymore. They're too complex.
Absolutely, and I don't expect that. I think but it's just a matter of that balance of, you don't want to swing things too well and too much. And I think right now we're good. I think the Widowmine, it hurt Protoss.
I'm pretty sure in 2 months from now, there'll be something that comes up, and it will, more likely than anything else, it will be Protoss moaning about Terrans, or Zergs moaning about Terrans. They're the next targets, effectively. And I think for the next, if we see a pattern of Terrans just dominating everything, then that will flick a switch in someone's head at Blizzard and say, well, hold on a minute, we really need to do something about that. But at the moment, we've got so much diversity in the players that are playing. You think Terrans are doing really well, and then suddenly two of the big Terran names get knocked out of a tournament when you don't expect them to. So I'm really enjoying it. I think we should just enjoy the fact that we've got a really good game right now.
Yeah, I think there's a very interesting problem from a game developer standpoint of when you balance to what extent, because there's certain points where you can just go in there and make very small tweaks, and then you've still got your people on Reddit or Team Liquid or the Battle.net forums. They're saying, oh, they're not taking this seriously enough. They don't realize it's a serious enough issue. And then you go to the other extreme, which is your massive sweeping changes like Dota 2 had this last week. That's required 5 follow-up patches in 4 days because they need to fine-tune it, and everybody's not pleased with the way that it was approached. So it's about finding a balance somewhere in the middle there, and unfortunately that takes a little bit more time and testing than I think people are willing to admit in a lot of cases, and a lot of the times the community is just going to be kind of fired up no matter what's going on. The grass is always going to be greener when they think that there's something else they could be doing better than the people that are in charge.
So I think a really, really important thing, and we've kind of talked about this in the past, but there's the phrase necessity is the mother of invention, right? If you absolutely need to do something, people are much more motivated to do it. I bash on League a lot for this. A lot of people think that I'm butthurt over League or whatever. I'm not, but it's... There's
Steven.
Yeah, I guess. I had people say it recently, and I'd never heard it before, and I was like, oh, okay. And I know Kane has to know this if he talks to a lot of programmers. People get into a certain mindset. If a game is patched often enough, then players can become incredibly lazy incredibly quickly. In League of Legends, this was so apparent back when I played. The millisecond, like the precise exact moment in time, somebody looked at something like, that's a little bit strong. Everything from that point on was ban him out, wait for it to get patched, ban him out, wait for it to get patched, ban him out, wait for it to get patched. Fucking back when I played, like there was like fucking like 15 things in a row where it happened. Like Black Cleaver came out, way too fucking strong, wait for the patch. It happened with Blade of the Ruined King, way too fucking strong, wait for the patch. Tanky champions, 80 characters, like there were everything like over and over. Oh, this champion is being played in mid, Zyra or Lulu, way too strong, nerf, blah blah blah, like every single time. And what happens is instead of like because players are ultimately the ones that figure out balance, right? A designer can't do it. A designer can't run through every possible permutation and execute it at the highest level. That'll never happen, because designers just don't have time to play the game, like professional. If professionals aren't motivated to figure out balance because they think that a nerf is coming along, I think that you set up like a really, really nasty environment. I don't think that's happened with StarCraft 2 because the patches are infrequent enough that it's not a deal, but it was an issue with StarCraft 2. I want to say like early Heart of the Swarm when the patches were a bit more frequent, when people were getting into that whole like, oh, this is too strong nerf, this is too strong nerf. And I think that's something you have to be really, really careful of as a developer versus like the over patching, because you make really lazy players at that point, in my opinion.
I think evidence of that would be, like you said, in the HOTS beta, especially like I played a game versus the Warhound or something,
Oh,
and
God.
I played like three or four games, and this is quite an extreme example, but I just quit playing the beta because I knew that a nerf was coming. But say it was something a little less extreme, but players still knew that a nerf might come, then they might just stop playing until that nerf comes. I think that's kind of what
Yeah.
you're saying, right? Yeah.
Pretty much, or at the very least, you just play every game. You're like, well, if they do that strategy, I'm just gonna auto lose to it. I won't even try, because I know it's gonna get nerfed anyway, right? Yeah.
All right, guys. Sorry, getting distracted a little bit, but I think that we pretty much got a good discussion out of that one. I think that balance is it's a finicky thing. You can't overdo it. You got to keep the adjustments minimal, and you've got to let the game play it out. Because the thing is, I think overall thing with a game like this, especially as complex, you bring these really smart players into it. They're going to find ways to abuse the game. They're going to find new strategies, new ways to get what they want out of those units. And that's kind of, we're going to move into StarCraft 2 and the business model and for Legacy of the Void, and whether or not it should be free to play. That's something we hear a lot. So before we go into how they could sustain free to play, and I want to pass this one off to ReDeYe, what do you think as far as free to play, how that would affect the player base, the growth potentially of StarCraft 2?
I think it's a no-brainer. I think it would explode. I think we, and I say we, with the greatest respect, I think the StarCraft community and I often look enviously at our brothers over at Dota and League and think that they're getting a good deal out of all this stuff. And I think there are things to be learnt for sure. I think the crowdfunding side of things is good for a prize pool point of view, but can also, I think, longer term could be quite destructive. So I don't think we should get too carried away with that side of things. But free to play in its own, in its entity, I think we've now discovered in the last few years that it is the almost de facto way of building a game going forward. The problem that Blizzard have, and I'm sure they've thought of this way beyond and way before I did, is that it's all very well saying, yeah, StarCraft should be free to play, it'd be a much bigger game and it'd have more of a player base. The problem they've got is how do they monetize it? And they're such a traditional company in the sense that, they sell boxed games, they do sell them digitally, but they sell boxed games, they sell single player games that they work on for a few years and, produce. Right, we could argue about the Diablo release, but anyway, they produce great games in essence that are single player games and single player experiences, and so what we're effectively saying to them is that, well, yeah, forget about the single player, no one plays it. Well, wake up, esports people, because there are millions of people that played the single player, and there are, I don't know, 50,000, 100,000 people playing multiplayer, of which there are a few hundred who play it at a very high level. So when we're asking them to tailor their entire game to a free-to-play model to help us have more people in the game and make the game bigger, that's great from our point of view. It's it's a no-brainer, right? But I don't think it's as simple as that for them. I think there's a lot of things to consider. Could they sell skins? Sure. Would I buy skins? Maybe. I don't know. Depends what they brought out, and I don't know if I could have, I don't know, a Formula 1 sticker set of my Terran tanks or something. I don't know. Maybe I'd go for that. But I don't really you know, the mechanics of how you'd set that up and go build, I don't know what they are, and I don't know if we'll get them for Legacy of the Void either, because it's, you know, it's the third part of a franchise that has been planned for years. So how do they change very quickly to you know, make it a free to play? I don't know. I mean, there are some ideas. I think Stephen may have spoken about this before, and I think there was an idea about, you know, you sell the game itself as a single player, and you know, it's the campaign mode and what have you, and you make the multiplayer free.
Sure.
I think that could work.
I think that's definitely a good start. And you know, they'd have to calculate, okay, we sold X number of copies, only this many turned into actual, you know, player versus player accounts.
That's the point, isn't it? It has to make sense for Blizzard to make money from it. They're a business. I mean, you just can't ignore that. And if they feel that actually a model that they put together where they give away the free, you know, the multiplayer for free leads to sales of the actual game for the single player, then that's a bonus for them. But they still need to monetize the free to play if they're going to support that game and continually patch it and continually watch over it and support the esports environment with WCS and plow millions of dollars into that as well. So there needs to be a longer term strategy for how they actually monetize free to play, and there's great examples out there. Valve do a great job with CS:GO right now. They're doing obviously brilliantly with Dota. They did brilliantly with Team Fortress 2 before that. I guess it's, you know, you could look at Hearthstone and say, well, actually that's the guinea pig right now for Blizzard, because it's the first time they've done a free game, they've given it away, but it was built from the ground up. StarCraft isn't, and so I don't know how far they have to go back to the drawing board before it isn't StarCraft anymore, to make it free to play. That's be the only worry I have.
I agree, and I think right away they cannot do units. They can't sell it. You know, League of Legends, you get the League of Legends player that come in, and they're like, oh, that champion, I like that. I got to see that at Worlds. I want to buy that champion now. Yeah. You can't do that. You add a unit.
I mean, I think you'd have to start adding races. We're struggling to balance. Yeah, we're struggling to balance 3 races right now. Right. Imagine what it'd be like if we had 25.
You couldn't do that. You couldn't add races. You couldn't. I mean, because that is so much balance.
Exactly. So the only way of doing it right now would be to sell skins, and then I guess some players would be like, well, I don't want your fucking skins in my game. I don't want these red... What are these orange tanks running around? I don't want them in my game. I'm going to turn that option off. So only you see them anyway, and I don't know. Kind of defeats the object of having the skins, I guess.
Right, and I mean, you know,
what we've complained in CS about skins. You know, when we had CS, there was a very purist, elitist attitude about, well, I don't want them to change my M4. I want it to look grey and boring like it always has. I don't want blue stickers all over it, or, you know, Cloud9 stuff, or complexity logos on my AWP. I don't want that. But actually, over time, it's become a massive business.
Yeah.
And it just shows that actually the casual gamers that do love that stuff, or even the competitive gamers that love that stuff, it shows if it's done well and it's done properly, actually that can be a source of income, and a really healthy one as well.
Yep, absolutely. And there's the argument against it, like, oh, you know, I don't want to see that. I mean, because let's say, just theoretically, you could make something really cool, like Zerglings, you know, every time they die, it's a little nuclear explosion, right? That'd be something pretty sweet to watch and all that. You could turn it off on the other end. And plus most competitions don't even allow skins. So you don't have to worry about that.
But monetization, the great thing about the way that Dota works and League works in that respect is that you see players playing with those skins and those heroes, and that's why you know it's like I see my favorite footballer and I think, wonder what boots he wears. Oh, okay, he's wearing those Adidas ones. Right, I should get a pair of them. It's the same kind of marketing.
But the player
I don't know how
that off. I think the players that would turn that off are the players that wouldn't buy it anyway. You know.
Sure, but what I'm talking about is tournaments. You know,
sure, but
tournaments will be the biggest viewership that you're going to have. So in WCS, for instance, if the players aren't allowed to use their skins or whatever because the tournament decide that, and this is without my tournament hat on right now, then Blizzard kind of go, we kind of need them to turn that on because we get more sales. That's how we monetize.
Sure, so, and again, maybe this is too much of the dream, but I mean, you could do it with Dota because a lot of people can watch those tournaments within the client, and they could just disable them in the client. You know.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things. That's what I mean. From what we've already spoken about in 5 minutes, we've already come up with a list of things that it's going to be really tough to do. And I'm sure the smart people at Blizzard can do it, but I also I don't. My biggest fear is this: just that you break StarCraft by trying to backward engineer it to become a free-to-play game.
So here's the problem: the way that esports works. Okay, this is like and you actually you have more history in this industry than me, so tell me if I'm completely fucking wrong. But from every esport that I have ever seen, it always works like this. Okay, it's a pyramid. Okay, at the very bottom you have all of the casual people that play, a fuck ton of people, and then you've got people that play like a little bit more, and then you get all the way to the very top where you have esports, right? The only possible way that that thing at the top, or the number one way to grow that thing at the top, is to start with a bigger bottom. Every pro scene that has ever evolved in any in Quake, in Counter Strike, in StarCraft Brood War, in League of Legends and Dota, in StarCraft 2, in any game, in Super Smash Brothers now, in any esport that I can ever think of, fighting game community, all of these games had scenes that grew up and evolved out of a bustling player base. I feel like growing that is the number one job that Blizzard has. Honestly, and I mean, this sounds mean and I'm trying to like shit on any players or anything. They could take all of that money that they put into WCS and go back to the development board with it and try to grow the player base. And ultimately, I feel like that would be healthier for the scene because we could do tournaments. We can handle the tournament part. Like, obviously, WCS is nice. It's nice that they put that money out there. But if they could do something, because anybody in the world can put on a StarCraft 2 tournament, Blizzard is the only company that can grow the player base in a massive way, right? Like, we say we can do it like, oh, Husky and Day9, and yeah, I mean, like, they help a little bit. Then people like that, or Winter even, but people can only do so much, right? If you don't have a game that's easily accessible, that's free to play, why would I drop $60 on any StarCraft game when Dota, when all these other games are free to play, or Counter-Strike is $20? How much does CS:GO cost? Like, why would I drop, 40?
Get it on
like
$3 for a sale.
Yeah.
Why would I drop all this money on StarCraft? Like, there's a huge fucking barrier to entry right there. Right there, you got the massive 40, 50, 60, $100 wall. I don't know if you got to buy all 3 games to play. I mean, like, Blizzard they have to address that with Legacy of the Void. If they don't, then I mean, then we're stuck at where we're at now. Not that where we're at now is horrible. I'm not saying like dead game or whatever, but like Legacy of the Void is like that time where like they could do something awesome, make the game accessible to everybody again. That would be so cool. And only Blizzard can. The only people that are in the position to actually do that.
And it's not only about reducing the barrier to entry of the game. I mean, that's one aspect of building this flourishing player base that you're actually talking about right there. You remove the barrier to entry by making it free to play, and then you still have to retain those people that are going to come in and try your game. I have hundreds of friends that have played StarCraft, Brood War, StarCraft 2 single player, and I have 5 friends that have ever played multiplayer 1v1 extensively. It's because there's just not this conducive environment to people wanting to go in there and being highly competitive. That's a small subset of your players. So you need to find some way to keep those players active, whether that's team games, arcade games, and then find some way to monetize those, because not everybody's going to want to sit there and play 1v1s all day long. That's a very small subset of your potential market base.
For sure, but at this point, Blizzard actually has the advantage over everyone else, in that all of these models have been tried and tested. They don't even have to think of anything. These really stupid reward systems that psychologically fuck our brains and make us want to do shit. Playing League of Legends and getting LP to put towards skins. Playing CSGO and getting those box drops and then buying keys. Playing Dota 2 and putting fucking hats on your character. Team Fortress. Like, all of these systems have already been played out in the real world. These aren't even theoretical. These aren't even people just typing on Reddit. These have all played out as real business models. The compendium. These things already exist. All Blizzard doesn't even have to innovate at this point, which is rare because Blizzard was usually the one in the forefront of everything. All Blizzard has to do is sit back and be like, okay, well, which system do we think works best for our game? We've seen this system. We know how it plays out. We know how to monetize it. We have all that shit already built in terms of, like, payment processing and everything. So they just have to, like, do it. I feel like with all those models already in place, Blizzard just has to choose something and then go with it,
Well, the Blizzard...
You're right, and I think the other thing is that they have the advantage of the fact that they are RTS right now. There is nothing else out there that's even close to challenge. They haven't got to worry about a league challenging if they're Dota, or a Dota are challenging them if they haven't got to worry about that. But my small concern for them is that actually, if they don't get this right next time, they might well get some competition from Valve, from Riot, from someone else that suddenly builds a fantastically well-balanced, lovable, easy-to-access game that is free-to-play, and it's going to come, so...
It's possible. Blizzard still has one ace in the hole, though. The one ace in the hole, right? Warcraft 4?
I'm still praying, dude. Me and Grubby, we've already said that Grubby and I have already said we're gonna commentate from the alpha version onwards, if it ever comes out, so yeah.
All right, so I think definitely the onus is on Blizzard. There are options there. There are companies who have tested them for them. All Blizzard has to do, like Destiny says, pick which one they want to do and do it.
Fucking, I would love. I'm dick riding Caesar right now, but I would love to be able to play 1v1s in StarCraft in like every random game, whether I get points every game or I like open cases to get like skins for like my units, so I could skin out my whole army, like my Lings and my Hydras. Now, even as a fucking, I say pro player, semi-pro, somebody that plays like I'll grind 1v1s all day with no reward, right? Because I like it. Even as somebody like that, I would love to be able to skin my army and shit. That would be fucking awesome, dude. I could see a lot more people dumping time into 4v4s, 3v3s, whatever, if they actually could get like skins for their army and shit. That would be awesome. That would be dank as fuck, I would say.
Dank as fuck.
Dank as fuck.
And I mean, they could do the skins in a way that don't screw with the game and don't, I mean, imagine a giant EG.
Yeah, they already have them in. They already have them in. We've got the Zealot skin, and we've got there's the Thoris skin, and I think there's. Yeah, oh yeah, they have. Well, those kind of did fuck with it.
We already had hats. We already had hats in StarCraft. We're ahead of the curve.
Like a bunch of. I can just see it. Tasia playing, and he's got an army of Thors, and they've just got the liquid symbol right on him. That'd be badass. And you see them shooting down EG.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny to mention that because that was the other side of all of this I was thinking about, is that one of the things I really love that they did in Counter-Strike is selling the little stickers, and not just selling the stickers for the teams, which then give the teams money from events, which is great, but actually they made a game of it at the last CSGO tournament, which was that you could actually use the skins to then choose the teams you thought would win and gain special trophies in the game. So there was actually a point to actually buying more stickers as well. I mean, just buying the stickers is addictive. I used to collect Panini stickers as a kid, right? And that's exactly how it feels. So they did a really good job. I mean, that's dead easy to do. Blizzard could absolutely do that tomorrow if they really wanted to, We could definitely buy skins that we could have, plastered on maps or plastered on our lower thirds or whatever we want to do without actually impacting anything in the game whatsoever. The actual, the mechanics of and what have you.
I wish there would be like some communication, like why they don't. I would love to hear like a reason,
Legacy,
like a good interview.
I've heard, and I can't remember the source, so someone else remembers it. You can tell me. Someone's been talking to Blizzard and saying, "Why don't you put this into StarCraft?" And they've been saying, "Oh, well, we're saving that for Heroes of the Storm." And I think that's a big truth to the matter is they are getting ready to focus on Heroes of the Storm. There's a lot of.
I wouldn't read too much. I mean, I'm not speaking for ESL or Blizzard right now, but I do have friends in both camps, and honestly, I don't get any sense from any of them that they're focusing on one game alone. At the beginning of this year, I did speak to one of the marketing guys, and he said this is going to easily be the busiest year for Blizzard ever in terms of releasing games and updates to games and what have you. So they are working really hard, but they have massive amounts of staff. It's not like they have 5 guys sitting in a bedroom doing some coding on Heroes and guys, can you lend us a hand over on this StarCraft stuff? We really need to patch this and give these Terrans a bit of a nerf. They have a ton of people working on all of these games. There is a ton of people working on Legacy of the Void. There's a ton of people working on Heroes, Hearthstone, the same thing. So I think it's just speculation right now to say that they're going to put everything into Heroes. They've always done a great job of delivering great games. As I said, apart from a little bit of a blip with the release, but generally speaking, they always do a great job, and I don't think that should be any different for Legacy of the Void, or for Heroes, or for Hearthstone patches, or World of Warcraft, which they're also working on right now. I mean, they're working on a ton of stuff, but I don't think one thing has a better, is more predominant than another, because they're all almost isolated teams. So I'm sure Tony Sue, who's working on Legacy of the Void right now, is his team are hard at work thinking about how they're going to do things, new units, how they're going to balance, what the maps look like, all sorts of crazy stuff, and maybe free to play. So I wouldn't worry about it. If we see it in Heroes, that's a good thing. It's a positive reinforcement that we knew where we were coming from, right? Because you get that with Valve. They had TF2. A lot of people don't remember that TF2 was the first game to go free to play and have stupid hats and skins and God knows what else in, right? And everyone laughed at it and called it a comedy fest. And actually, I loved the game. It's great fun to play. It's got a great community. And basically, they then used that knowledge and experience to put it into Dota. And now they're doing it again with CS. So, great. Blizzard do the same thing for Heroes. We benefit in StarCraft.
Absolutely. I think Blizzard, they are making changes. They have heard us, and one of the cries they heard for a long time, that's going to move us into our next topic, is...
Latency for tournaments?
You know what? Let's before we move on...
No, go ahead, go to the next one.
They are making changes, and one of the changes they made was the region lock. And, that's been talked about a little bit. I guess, we've kind of had some time to think about it. With your knowledge of a lot of the different parts of the scene, and the fact that you manage players. Now, I don't think you have any Korean players, but as someone who manages, I'd like your opinion on the region lock beef.
The region lock's really interesting because all of a sudden it's going to provide our players who are 100% in the Americas region right now. It's going to provide them the ability to compete with people that they're going to have a better shot of actually beating. And of course, it's going to be able to get them a chance to get their names out there. If I rattle off the names of some of my players, a lot of people out there are probably going to be like, who the heck are these guys? You're talking mYi, Coma, Drunken Boy. Like, you're probably like, who are these guys? These guys have been on our roster for a year. They play in WCS, and they don't make it through because, you get to the round of 8 and it's 100% Koreans and whatnot. Even Hendrilisk and QXC, very strong players that play full-time. They're not always able to make it into that area where they're able to get into the big events. They're not able to get into the final rounds because they have some very serious competition. When you eliminate that competition and start to region lock it, it's definitely going to give them the opportunity to grow more and to become more sustainable, which hopefully means that they can practice more, have better practice partners because maybe other top North American talents are going to come back. And it's going to hopefully improve the infrastructure here in the Americas region. But at the same time, I mean, there's certain things to be said on the other side of, is it going to drive down the overall gameplay when you're looking at those WCS matches? I can't really speak to that one, but I'm hoping that for each and every one of my players, it's going to allow them to become better players and recognized as better talents.
Kane, as a player, how have you felt about region lock?
As a player...
Hold on. Actually,
I'm
as
pretty
a player,
happy.
as a player who happens to have a teammate that is going to be affected by this.
Who do you mean by that?
Jachi.
Which player? Jachi and Stardust.
Kane doesn't get their salary. He don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I'm just as a player, I'm pretty damn happy. As a competitive player, I'm happy. As somebody who wants to see really, really good games of StarCraft and WCSNA, I'm a little bit worried, but I think I'll get over it with all the money.
We've seen some great games go. I mean, I don't subscribe to the idea that you take away Koreans, you're not going to get great games. We have some top tier players. Mm-hmm. I don't see that. ReDeYe, what do you think?
I mean, from a player point of view, I see it from Kane's point of view in the sense that it makes it easier for him, and if he's going to say it doesn't, then he's lying. And I understand that. That region, the players do need a helping hand, and they do need to have a scene back, because let's face it, other than the attempts by people like Destiny and Total Biscuit, who've both run private, personal, community-funded kind of LAN events or online events, there's nothing else in North America, and that's a real shame. But at the same time, I think it's disappointing, because I think the only way you get better in North America and improve that talent is by playing better players, and you've got that right now with the Koreans there. The same as I think Europe has definitely benefited from having some of the Koreans in Europe and on the ladder, playing regularly, practicing regularly. Although I think most of them tend to still practice in their own kind of clique and circle. I think overall it's still. I think it's still a shame in one respect, in a competitive sense. On the other hand, I hope that it helps the North American players and the Central American players, because it gives them a better chance to qualify for BlizzCon, gives us a better chance to have some foreign hope to cheer for. And I think generally people, as fans, enjoy games where there's a foreign hope to cheer against a Korean player, despite the fact that I think we all recognise that the Koreans are head and shoulders above pretty much everyone on the planet at StarCraft.
Can I add something onto that really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so in terms of playing better players in order to improve, that's very true, but for a lot of players, like I'll take Drunken Boy or Coma for example, if you put them against somebody like Polt or Violet, chances are they're not going to learn much through those matches. But when you get players who are more equal to their skill level, say Hendrilisk, QXC, players like those, I think there's a lot of opportunity to improve when you put players close in skill level. Like, one player is obviously better, but when you put them together, I think there's a lot more opportunity to learn there. In terms of getting the good games and stuff like that, I think that how do I put this?
I think the games will be just as interesting, but for different reasons. I think
I think from a pro player point of view, I think if you really truly know what's going on in the game, it's going to be a little bit disappointing at times. But from an average StarCraft fan's point of view, I think they won't be able to tell the difference. And I know Destiny and people like that have said before, like, the average StarCraft fan doesn't really know the difference between 2 Koreans and 2 North American players if you just put them on barcodes.
Absolutely, you could definitely have 2 games without all of the names blurred out, and you would struggle to work out who they were and which country they were from. Almost for sure. So I agree with you. I think that the games won't be any less exciting. They might even be more exciting. I've just been watching some of the Ryder Cup this weekend. I don't watch golf. I don't particularly enjoy golf, but I really like watching the Ryder Cup because it allowed me to cheer for the Europeans. Why we have a whole continent against one country is beyond me, but we're crap at golf at some point, so we have to maybe that's what we should do in StarCraft, the rest of the world versus Korea.
I mean, I completely agree with what you were saying there, Kane, in terms of practicing against people that are tiers higher than you. And let's say you have, once again, for the example, Coma and Drunken Boy, who you put them at this like D tier right now. And you put these 2 players that are together, you make them practice a bunch of games together, they're both going to bump up to C tier. Whereas you've got Polt and Violet that are like that A+ tier or something like that. There's not enough incentive with the current system right now to actually force them to practice enough so that they're able to jump up there, because there's still too much of a gap to actually bridge up there. There's not enough incentive for them to be there because they feel like there's nothing they can do to ever beat these Koreans. These Koreans are these gods that are so far up there that it's impossible. And at some point, the thrill of the competition and the passion for the game isn't enough. And I feel like when you're restricting that and you're lowering it to a level more consistent with the nationals from that area, that then you're hopefully going to be able to provide them some more incentive to keep on practicing and continue to grow. Whether that's
and possibly,
go ahead.
Possibly even go full time as well. Like nobody has any incentive to go full time at this point. If you're studying and going to school full time, sure you play a few hours every day or a couple hours every day in your off time, but other than that one-off event that happens once in a while in North America, there's nothing else in America for American players. Like you have WCSNA that's full of Koreans. You get Challenger League, and that's like once every few months or whatever. That doesn't pay enough to go full-time. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying as well.
Yeah. So hopefully this is going to be able to bring back some of those players, increase the total number of people competing in specifically the Americas region, and drive up that overall level of competition. Whether that's a good thing to have had this done now rather than a couple of years ago is still up for debate, because I mean maybe it's too far gone at this point and maybe it's even worse overall, but I guess only time will tell.
I think you have to flip it around. I think everyone's so consumed with the whole region lock idea, but I think you have to flip it around. I think you have to the question is, what do you want at BlizzCon? That's the real question. Mm-hmm. And the answer to that from Blizzard's point of view is as diverse a 16-player base that we can get, the better, that have accumulated enough points over a season. That doesn't mean it's the best 16 in the world, or 16 Koreans in the world, or the best 16 Koreans in the world. It just means the best that have accumulated points. And if that's a nice mix of, American, Chinese, Korean, Taiwan, European, what have you, then I'm okay with that. If it's actually saying, well, no, our goal is to have the best 16 players at BlizzCon, then this region lock is definitely not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, that kind of comes down to something that we're seeing right now in the LOL World Championships, where there's a lot of debate about having Kaboom, a team from South America there, that is, they're kind of,
the B Alliance.
Yeah, well, they did. They knocked the Alliance out. So
just to, kind of crap over the people that said they shouldn't be there.
Exactly. And
good,
so
good game.
It does provide some more interesting storylines. If you want the absolute best teams in the world, it's very similar to StarCraft. You're probably going to be looking at quite a few of those Korean, maybe a couple Chinese teams over there. People say Europeans, the Americans don't belong over there, and certainly these teams from South America don't belong over there. And so there's this big debate over there as well. But like ReDeYe said, it's about what do you want at BlizzCon? Do you want 16 Koreans, which are...
The title is World Championship, so it's got to be the whole world, right? It's got to be open to the whole world. How you get them there is, there's lots of different ways to skin that cat, but this is the way that Blizzard want to do it.
How well does this current system actually generate the top 16 players in the world? Where you have competitions that certain players don't make it to, and I understand that's not always possible.
Yeah, it absolutely doesn't. This year we've had 29 qualifying events. You could have got if you went to all 29, then you could have scored WCS points in all 29. That's a lot of events. So some would argue that you can't go to all of them. No player has been to all of them, by the way, which means that he's automatically, or she is automatically, penalising themselves to get to BlizzCon because they didn't go to one event out of 29. I think if you have it and you set it up, because it's set up in a very similar way to the Formula 1 World Championship in that you gain points at every event. Some pay more than others, sure, but generally every event's the same. Well, in Formula 1 this year, they're going to double the points in the last race. God only knows. I have no idea why. It's a ridiculous thing, but they are. So they're weighting it, and they're doing exactly what we've got in WCS, except that in Formula 1, every player, every team, every person goes to every single event. So I think what we should do is say, actually, there's no prize money to be had in WCS, it's just for the prestige, but if you're a WCS round of 16 player or round of 32 qualifier, we'll pay all your travel to go to any WCS event you want. And then there'll be 20 of them a year, not 29, or 15 of them, or however many there are. We just declare them at the start of the year. There's going to be 4 DreamHacks, 4 IEMs, 4 Red Bulls, 4 Home Story Cups, whatever you want to do it, whoever qualifies best for it. But they're the only ones you can get WCS points. And then maybe the players and the teams can figure out how much that will cost and properly fund these trips, and then all the players can go and they can talk to Kesper and make sure the dates don't clash with Pro League and GSL and what have you, and then those 10 to 15 events that you get that give out the points all give out the same amount of points, and the best players go to all of them, and all players go to all of them, and then you get the fairest BlizzCon event that you want at the end of the year.
One thing that I don't think, unless I missed something in the announcement, I don't think Blizzard addressed this at all. We also have a problem that some people have been talking about certain popular players get invited to a lot more tournaments and therefore have the opportunity to win a lot more points, not based on their actual skill, but just based on the fact that they're fan favorites and they get invited to so many more events. That's something that probably needs to be addressed next year as well, I think.
Yep. I mean, I know Intel Extreme Masters, we're guilty of it. We've invited players. We tried to use a system where we adopted the WCS point system at least, so that we didn't just randomly invite our favourite players or the fan favourite players from those regions. And that sort of works. But we have qualifiers as well. So, we're not fully guilty. But I know what you mean. I mean, I don't like invites as an outsider, as a fan. I don't like invites at all for events that give WCS points. I think it's totally unfair to the other players.
I guess that's something that, I mean, have you heard people talking about that outside of, a
little bit, yeah. The players did. I mean, they brought it up at a couple of different events that I've been at where we've discussed this. And the comeback has always been, well, you don't get any points if you don't win a game. So even if you get invited, you don't get any points automatically. It's not like we give them out for free.
Who makes that argument?
They still had to get past at least one round.
Yeah, but you have more opportunity. Did somebody legitimately make that argument? That's the worst argument I've ever heard ever. You have more opportunity to advance.
The point was that they were getting 3 points for nothing, and that's the argument against 3 points. They don't get 3 points.
Yeah, no one's arguing against it.
Yeah, there were players arguing about that. But in terms of the invites, honestly, I've not heard anyone specifically come to me and say, hey, it's not fair that you keep inviting SOS or Flash or whatever.
Well, yeah, this is something where you have to weigh like legitimacy of the tournament system, legitimacy of the circuit, the legitimacy of the WCS circuit versus people wanting to see fan favorites at tournaments, right? Because if we were to talk about like WCS points and tournaments, I don't think there's anybody in the well, I say anybody in the world, but Scarlet, for instance, has a lot of fans, almost universally loved by the StarCraft 2 community. People would want to see her in as many tournaments as possible. Tourney organizers would want to see her in as many tournaments as possible because it's good viewership numbers. Fans would want to see her in as many tournaments as possible. So all the pressure from the tournament organizers and from the fans would make that so. But in terms of like a circuit legitimacy thing, there might be other players who, because they don't get invited over and over again to tournaments, don't have the same opportunities. Like Scarlet might win a tournament where she would have lost in one of the qualifiers, just because of the nature of the beast or StarCraft 2. So I mean, I think you can make legitimate arguments for and against it. I don't know. It's a really complicated thing. There would have to be like a governing body that makes these decisions that isn't controlled or influenced by tournaments or by fans, which is really weird.
That is a beautiful segue into our next topic that we are going to discuss when we get back. So pretty much to summarize, I mean, we see the pros and the cons. You're going to get a lot of the really good foreigners, the Europeans, the North and South Americans. You're going to see those people actually getting into the tournaments. They're going to be in the top 8 of these tournaments now. And we are going to get a BlizzCon that has a few more foreign hopes in it. Does that mean that the top Koreans aren't still going to come through and push their shit in? No, absolutely not. But there is that positive side from the fans who want to see them do well. On the converse, is there going to be a degradation of play? Is there going to be a degradation of true competition into the outside? Are people going to feel like they are getting screwed out of the best games? That, again, is another possibility. Regardless, I think one other thing we didn't touch on a little bit is how it's going to affect the Korean scene. We're going to have a lot of Koreans that have to go back to Korea. They're not going to be able to play. They're not going to be able to compete.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I was going to say, if you wanted to go full dick mode, I know Thorin's argument in and out so well, and I could do the. I know all of his arguments against.
You get like a guest version of Thorin on the show. That's awesome.
Destiny, let's hear it.
Well, so in true Thorin fashion, right? I would say to Kane. So, Kane, why do you think that you deserve to win these tournaments or whatever? You want to send all these Korean players home who work twice as hard as you. You want to send them home so that they can be forced into retirement so that shitty players like you can show us shitty games and then win all the money that these guys aren't getting, and now they have to retire and go fuck off and play League of Legends? That would be the Thorin argument. Or I'm Thorin and I like to watch the best games in the world. I just want to see the best games in the world in NA. I want to see the best games all over the place. I don't want to have to waste, 2/3 of the season watching shitty players play shitty players just because the Koreans you guys have locked out because you don't have the work ethic to actually practice and play against them. And now for the WCS Grand Finals, I've got to skip the round of 16 and the round of 8 because all these shitty players that you guys artificially threw into the tournaments because you forced Koreans out are shitting up my matches, and I can only watch the best games of the world instead of in a round of 16. I have to wait till I get to the finals. Right? That would be Thorin's feeling that, I think. Wait, and he does have valid points. I make him sound a little bit mean, but I mean, yeah, there you go.
Thorin actually has said that to me before. just saying.
Well, there you go.
I blocked him on Twitter. Yeah, pretty much. I blocked him on Twitter right after.
Oh, well, wow. There you go.
Oh, Christ. I don't know how to follow that up. All right. I mean, it's a bunch of valid points. It's a bunch of great points. And it's really sad. You look at Axiom. Axiom is fucked.
Yeah. We keep saying that, but hold on a second, because a lot of people have just assumed that region lock means no Koreans in any region. It doesn't mean that. It means they have to have a valid visa, a valid workplace to be there. It's not impossible that they can get visas to work there. Polt's got one. Violet has one for North America. I know MC, I think, has one for Europe. 4GG's had one for a couple of years in Europe. Stardust could get one. Jack G could get one. I mean, it doesn't mean no Koreans in any other region.
How hard is it to get a visa in Europe?
I think it's easier than it is to get, like an athlete or an O1 visa in America. I mean, they're pretty tough. I've been through the process. I had an O1 visa back in 2007.
In America? No, in America they're really easy to get. That's what.
No. O1's really hard to get.
Riot cleared the way for it, dog. It should be super.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think they're that easy still.
Didn't someone? No, I don't follow.
They're still pretty difficult.
Didn't someone have a huge issue where they couldn't make a tournament early this year because
Violet.
Riot.
Violet originally.
Oh no! There was a Riot player that got super fucked. His whole life got fucking destroyed because of visa issues. He'd dropped school and work or whatever and ended up. Yeah. But yeah, that's a totally separate thing. Yeah, visas are still really hard to get.
Yeah, you might be talking about our player.
Am I?
Broken Shard.
Yeah,
Broken Shard from Complexity.
Yeah.
Where he got completely screwed over because he wasn't able to get a visa, and then it was going to take an exceedingly long amount of time, and it's like, oh, we can get the visa in time for week 9 out of the 10-week split.
Yeah, he was on Unfiltered and talked about it. Yeah, and that was a huge thing. The League of Legends subreddit, he got completely fucking annihilated. It was terrible.
People talk about, you know, it's super easy. And I mean, Riot definitely does their best to help out and everything like that. But at the end of the day, you're still having to go through the U.S. government and whoever else you might be having to deal with. It's still governments that can decide, yeah, we're going to put our stamp on this or we're not. Completely depends on how their coffee was that morning.
That's very true. So yeah, I guess we'll see what comes of it. You know, we've got it. We're going to have a year. 2015 is going to be a huge year for StarCraft, and one of the things we're going to see is the implication of this and whether or not, you know, we have good play. And I think that what ReDeYe brought up is something that we're going to have a discussion about, and that is the validity of our current system and how we need to improve it to get the best players there. And we're kind of going to go into that next. When we come back from the break, we are going to discuss unions in esports, managing bodies similar to FIFA and soccer in esports. We're also going to discuss upcoming GSL finals, Innovation versus Sue. So stick back and post your questions in the Reddit thread. We will go through that as well, and we'll see you in a few. Welcome back to the late game. If you're just joining us, we have ReDeYe. You know him, you love him. He's one of the best hosts in the scene. Then you have to your right, Complexity's Beef. He is a player manager for Team Complexity, known for such great players like Kamehameha QXE. To the bottom left, well, my bottom left, your bottom right, we have Russell Thorin, aka Destiny, who did an amazing Thorin impression. You'll have to check the VOD for that when you get back. And last but most certainly not least, we have, from my insanity, Kane. How you guys doing? You have a good break?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Good. I don't know what conversation was supposed to come from that.
That was a really difficult question. It's probably the hardest.
Oh, well. Water. Okay.
I will tell you, I really like your intro.
Really?
First time I've seen the intro.
Thank you.
It's good. The little animation. I
Thank
like
you.
it, man. Destiny turns into a desk.
So if you guys like that animation, that's actually from what's his name? Realism. You see him on Reddit. He's posted some videos, kind of like StarCraft, but a little more like real, I guess, animation looking. It's really awesome. He did that, and actually, I want to get some lower thirds done by him. He's a little busy now, but what they're going to be is like they're going to be one for each race, right? So we have Destiny on, right? So you see a drone come on, and he's going to do it, and then he's going to plant himself, and then it's going to quickly go into like a big bubble and then burst into a lower third that's kind of Zerg themed. And a Protoss, a little probe's going to come on, warp in a lower third for the for Protoss, and then for Terran, SCV's going to drill it, and it's going to pop up. So he does some really cool animations, and I'm looking forward to getting those added in. Anyway, so speaking of lower thirds, I actually think it'd be really cool if StarCraft itself added lower thirds into their client. So kind of like DreamHack, you know what I mean?
What do you mean by lower thirds?
Like the little things that pop up and show like this is player so-and-so, like you're watching GSL and it kind of like that little thing pointing to their command center. Like, that's more like a little bubble, but lower thirds are like those things that pop up in the bottom and say, this is round whatever of whatever and this is so-and-so. Kind of like title cards, basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah, anyway. Alright, so what we're moving into now is esports unions. I want to keep this a little bit focused towards StarCraft, but where this topic's coming from is there was a little panel, I guess you could call it, little symposium, where some people talked. Thorin was there, Grubby was there, Richard Lewis hosted, and there were a couple other industry professionals there, and they discussed the benefit of a union in esports. And I think one of the issues might be is that we're so young, who do we regulate? Second of all, there's so many competitors. There's Blizzard, there's Riot, there's Kespa. Who is going to be the head of it? Or do we create a council that has a whole bunch of people at the top of it? And what benefit would that provide? Is it going to provide protection for players? So are we talking, like somewhat like a labor union where players have to be treated to a certain standard? There are certain regulatory bodies that mandate how pay is managed for those players and ensure that they get paid, so we don't have like another Quantic issue. What purpose would unions serve, and how would we go about it? And I'm going to go back to ReDeYe on this one because him and I talked a little bit about this earlier. Do you have an opinion as for yay or nay as of right now on whether or not we're ready for that kind of battle?
I think we're ready. I think we've been ready for a while. I think there's there's a number of issues as to why it hasn't happened, and they're mostly to do with money. They all come back down to money. At the very end of it all, it's always money. It's obviously much more complicated than just money. It's to do with the teams who rightfully or wrongly feel that they have the power, because they're the ones that pay the salaries to the players. They're the ones that have all of the the great team history and logos and what have you, and to have complexity and Na'Vi and My Insanity and all of the big teams around at an event is valuable to that event, and those teams, again, rightly or wrongly, want to benefit from that. And I totally see that point. We also have the organisers, like ourselves at ESL with ESL 1 and Intel Extreme Masters and many other products. We have MLG and DreamHack and Red Bull and what have you, and they all want to do, they pay out large sums of money to put on their event, so they want to make money back so that they can break even or make a profit. And then we have the players, and the players are kind of the poor men in all of this. I think it's a real fallacy in esports that many of the fans believe that the players are super rich and that they're paid an awful lot of money and that their salaries are all fantastic and that they can live off this full time. And I think it just isn't the norm. I think you'd be surprised if I told you how little some of the top players are paid in salary, and that they can't really do it as a full-time job, but they just, they somehow get by and live off some of the extra money that they can earn from events and what have you. So to my mind, those are the three entities, but the more complicated one is that we also then have the developer or the publisher. We wrap them up as one thing that make the game. So it's much more complicated than saying, should we have a FIFA? Because FIFA looks after football. It doesn't look after basketball and netball and hockey and all the other games that are all the other sports that are out there. There are other governing bodies for that. So it's very complicated because no one actually owns football either. No one sits there and goes, right, I'm going to patch football this week. And patch 6.9 of football is going to include a widening of the goals and a deepening of the nets, and you have to have a 4-meter perimeter between the goalkeeper and the last defender. They don't do that. It just pretty much stays the same, and FIFA helps, regulate that. Ours is much more complicated, so it's a very difficult thing to come together because the teams want to have a say, the organisers want to have a say, the developer wants to have a say, and the players want to have a say, and then the fans want to have their say as well. So, however we tackle it, and we do have to tackle it, I'm absolutely certain of that, it's always going to be very difficult. To my mind, each entity needs to look after itself, and I've already spoken to Grubby today, and we've spoken a lot in the past about it. And this is without me being involved from ESL. I'm just going to kind of, separate myself from that and say that I think the players need to form their own player union right now. Teams are mobilising, organisers are mobilising, developers are mobilising, and the players are going to get left behind if they don't form something soon. And I think they should, because in my mind, the players are the most important thing of anything else in esports right now. They're the sole reason that we tune in and we watch the shows and we go to the events. We go to see the players. We don't get to see the teams. We don't go to see the organiser. We don't go to see logos on the side. We don't get to see sponsors, and we don't go to, say hi to Blizzard. I mean, BlizzCon, yeah, you do. But generally speaking, we go because of the players. They are, for me, the most single important thing in esports. And they're the most underrepresented. They're getting shafted on contracts, they're getting shafted on salary, they're getting shafted on getting their money back from events. And it can't carry on. It's much better than it used to be, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. It has improved, but... and this is no slight on, I'm sure Beef has got a totally different viewpoint than I have on this because he's a team, and it's no slight on the teams either. But the biggest danger to all of this, and I think it's starting to happen, is that someone is going to twig at some point that actually owning lots of teams is the way to start this off. And I guarantee you, someone is out there right now buying teams. They probably have 3 or 4 already. They're probably aiming for 8. And then they'll pull all of those 8 teams and their players out of all of the competitions like IEM, DreamHack, MLG, and they'll form their own league. It already happened in other sports, and I can see it happening in esports as well if we're not careful.
Beef, you got something on that?
I mean, I definitely see where ReDeYe is coming from right there, saying that there are players out there that have been shafted in the past and continue to be. It's hard for me to speak on this coming from a team standpoint because for me and my organization, we always do our best to treat our players right, to give them contracts that are correct and everything. But if all of a sudden everybody starts forming a union and they go back and they look at, the last big contract that was announced back in 2012, you got, Stefano that was signed to EG at the time and he was making what? Like $90,000 a year or something along those lines. That was the
plus bonuses.
Yeah, so that's $72,000 a year. Like, even if players come to me and say, this is the amount that we want, or half of that, my company's broke. We're bankrupt in a second. Like, if all of our players come and do that, and people think that there's just an absolute ton of money in having a team or being an event organizer and everything, the reality of the matter is that we pay as much as we can. When these players are there, we want to be able to make sure that they're as comfortably taken care of as we possibly can. We're not all sitting here saying, oh, look at us, we're Scrooge McDucking around in our piles of cash. Like, we're doing the best that we can so we can grow this industry. We're all in it together. And so that's my worry when it kind of comes to player unions, is that people don't get a little bit too greedy and want to say...
No, I would agree with that. I think that the problem is that, we think of a player union as, as a demanding group of people, and it doesn't have to be like that. I think, run the right way and by the right people with the right interest, it's there just to protect the players. More, not to demand higher wages, but to actually work with the industry on a,
I don't want to get
basis.
I don't
rather
want to get
than just, like you say, get shafting. I mean, there's no point in not having the teams either, because if we don't have the teams, then the players are screwed anyway. So we have to, it's one without the other is useless, and it's the same with the organisers. If we don't put on big Intel Extreme Masters and spend $1 million a year, then that $1 million doesn't go into esports anymore, and it doesn't go to the teams, and it doesn't go to the players. So that hurts the players, and it's the same if they start demanding stupid money. So I know that a union, by definition, has that kind of, ooh, it's going to be bad for everyone. Actually, I don't see it that way. I see it just as a piece of power for the players, yes, not to use as a stick to beat teams and organisers with, but just to raise standards and raise issues and get them solved.
All right, I completely agree with you, and that is an excellent idea, and I don't want to go into the side of, I don't want this, what I'm about to say, to take this into a union debate as far as just the political side of things. But if we look at it historically, look at what the unions came around for in the first place. We're talking, the Irish and the immigrants were getting shit on, working in the coal mines as slave labor. The unions came around to fix that, to say, hey, you can't treat us like slaves. You can't pay us a nickel just because we need that goddamn nickel, and we're willing to risk, mine explosions and falling down a shaft for a nickel a day because that's the only way we can get it because there's so many of us here. So the union started out with a really good purpose, and then as people realized, I can get power off of this, I can benefit from this, I can profit off this, unions became a bad thing. And I do not believe, first of all, we've seen rampant corruption in esports. Do I think it's going to go there right away? No. But goddamn, if we're not susceptible to someone smart coming in and saying, exactly, there's a potential for the esport union to go back bad. So unless we came in with the right head, not let's rush into this and get the union right away, but hey, let's get in here, let's get a contract up, let's get things going the way we need to go.
Absolutely. And I should also add that in my head, I don't, I'm talking about a player union right now. Right. I'm just talking about a union or an association to represent players' best interests. They won't necessarily have that much power. They'll just literally be a qualified committee and a group of people led by one or two people that can actually have a voice and can go as an arbitrator between different teams and organisers. That's it, nothing more than that. But also on top of that, we have to then think, hang on a second, Stephen.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
You also have is an organisers group, and you also have a developers group, and you also have a teams group. And those four things all look after those people's best interests between them. And then overall, you have an esports federation or association or whatever you want to call it. And then that way, I think it has potential to work. It's still going to be really difficult, though.
I absolutely agree.
You do have to have some degree of power if you're going to be organizing anything. If you're like you can't just have a players union that's just a voice. Like, it has to be more than a voice. It has to be some kind of bargaining power. In regards to what Beef was talking about, in terms of that, or well, I guess Beef didn't necessarily say this in these exact words, but Gosu Pizza, um, brought this up a lot. Um, it's good that a union should be like greedy because the way that it works is when two people come together to bargain with each other, you have to meet in the middle, right? One guy is obviously pulling for more on his side, the other guy's pulling for more on his side, and then from that discussion, from two people being relatively greedy with each other, eventually you arrive at some kind of middle ground where you're supposed to like meet in the middle and be like, okay, well, these are the concessions that we made and whatnot. I don't know if I don't know if there's like rampant team abuse going on right now with players. I mean, I've heard some stories where it's kind of bad, but I don't think it's like we're not like in the coal mines yet, working for 5 cents a day pro players are. But I don't think that there's anything right now. There's zero collective bargaining power, I think, on the players' side. There's not very much bargaining power on that side, and all of the bargaining power is with the teams at the moment. I don't think that a situation like that can ever exist healthily in the real world. I do think that even if you're, I mean, even if you're against like the concept so far of like player unions and whatnot, like there has to be something to balance out that lack of bargaining power on the player side, because without that, you always tend towards the same thing. Even the road to hell is paved with good intentions or whatever. Like there's always going to be something that gets messed up when all of the bargaining power resides with one party and the other party can't say anything at all.
No, I'm right there with you, and I'm not saying that unions are a bad thing. I'm saying that if we give too much power to them, they have the potential to throw things into a great state of chaos within
For sure.
the esports community and industry, and it's something that would need to be managed very delicately.
Look what happened with baseball in the United States, like 10 years ago, with the crazy baseball strikes and whatnot. I mean, so yeah, I mean, like there's plenty of examples. Or you can point to the United Auto Workers, you can point to the teachers union in the United States. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of examples of unions run amok that tend to fuck things up quite a bit. But then, as was also pointed out earlier, there's also the example of unions doing good things too, where working conditions are subhuman. And things have to be rectified. So yeah, I mean, obviously everything would have to be very carefully balanced out and whatnot. But.
And that's why we have to come in with the mindset that things could go wrong and that we don't want them to. We don't want to damage our community.
Yeah, and I hear that a lot, and there's a few people in chat saying, well, it's going to cost money. You want to take money from players who already don't get paid very much money to do union dues, and it's all about the money. Well, yeah, newsflash, it is about the fucking money. That's what I said at the beginning. It is an unfortunate side issue, but what do you want to do? Do you want to bury your head in the sand and just ignore it and let some billionaire oil sheik come in and take over esports and do whatever the fuck he wants to do with it? No, I don't want to do that. I've spent too long in this industry to watch it go down the fucking pan. I want to do something about it. I want to make sure that the people that love and are passionate about esports are the ones that look after it. And will that lead to corruption? Not necessarily, but sure, yeah, it's probably likely at some point someone will try and exploit it. It's the nature of the beast. It's happened in every governing body probably in the world. So I'm not naive enough to think that it won't happen. But what I'm saying is rather than bury our heads in the sand and do fuck all, why don't we actually do the hard thing? And if we fail, well, at least we fucking tried, rather than do nothing and watch someone else take it over. I don't want to do that.
Side note real quick, the longer I stay in this community, the more I stop fearing the douchebag person that's going to come in, swoop up a few good players, and then let them go and screw them over and not pay them. I'm starting to feel like Russian oligarchs and now fucking oil sheiks. The more I find out that there are these kind of people in the back end, but that's neither here or there. I agree with you. Absolutely. We do need something. And people talking about money, it's not going to cost a lot of money if we don't make it cost a lot of money. The unions nowadays, your car is jacked up X amount of dollars because of a union because people came in and that's what it became about. It's not going to cost a lot of money to find someone that is like, Beef is a player manager, right? That it will not cost a lot to pay a group of people, we're not all here for you.
Do you know what? I mean, if we can do a crowdfunder, right? I'll resign from ESL tomorrow, and I will take up the position of running a players' union, completely independent. I've been a top player. I know exactly what players love and what they hate. I'll represent the players. Fuck it.
Absolutely trust you 100% with that, and I think a lot of the community would.
But there's lots of people that would do that as well. I don't know if they would give up their job and go and do that, but there's lots of people that are capable of doing that. We have a lot of very talented and smart people in esports.
And they're not all greedy.
No, exactly.
Need that huge amount of money.
If I was greedy, I'd still be working in the finance industry, which I'm qualified for. I was earning a lot more money 10 years ago than I am now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about it because I honestly believe if we don't do something soon, that we will lose control of esports as the esports people. And I'm not doom mongering. I'm just saying it's a real feeling that I have that we will lose the control of our own destiny, not the destiny that's on this program. Yeah, I went there. Fuck me, whatever.
Kane,
Yes.
I actually want to talk to Kane. You happen to work for one of the best teams out there. I know Penguin, and we've talked about Penguin. If there's anyone that has many a fuck to give, Penguin stole them all from the rest of the world and is hoarding them because that guy gives a shit about his players. You have a good team. You have a team that takes care of you. I mean, have you ever though looked at the esports? Or, you talk to other players. You don't have to out anyone. But what is the sentiment among players as a player, with what you have to fear as far as what teams can do to you?
I don't get a sense of a lot of fear from the players I speak to, but that may just be ignorance, or that may be just be ignoring the matters at hand, But yeah, for the most part, I don't feel like a lot of players are really scared of what might happen to esports, and like a lot of players are really young. They're around 18 to 20 years old, so I don't think that it really pops into their mind that, hey, somebody could come like that and swoop in and steal esports, But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not too concerned at this point, but that could just be me.
Let me throw this at you, Kane. Hypothetically, and then I'm going to back it up with some facts afterwards.
Sure.
Uh-oh.
Your team decide to go in with 10 other teams and form, the G11 or whatever the fuck they want to call it.
Sure.
And they say, as a group of teams, right, fuck it, we're not gonna do any transfer fees between the teams that are in our union, and we're not going to pay any of the players for 2 years. How would you feel?
Oh, it'd be absolute garbage, of course.
And they have the power to do that right now if they want to do it. And guess
They
what?
do.
They did. So, I don't know about your team, obviously, but some teams have done that in the past because they collectively agreed as a, almost as a mafia group, that that's what they would do. And the players are helpless. They can't do anything. And that's the kind of stuff I don't want to happen.
Yes, yeah. But, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be living in a house where all the owners and managers live. I feel like I'm very close friends with them. Not family, obviously, but very close. And I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I don't have to worry about that. But you're right, in terms of other teams and other owners and other managers, that could become a problem, absolutely.
Go ahead, Beef.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm aware of what ReDeYe's talking about, and for me, from my standpoint, as the general manager of an organization, the reasoning to do that, you could sit there and say, yeah, we're gonna get all this reward from never paying these guys again, and then it's like your players stop playing. Like at that point, then you have nothing to market. You have no way to get any kind of revenue stream if you have no players playing for you at that point. It doesn't make sense to me as somebody that's helping to run a team.
To devil's advocate that argument?
It doesn't, though, because you guys are trying to look after your players. I'm not suggesting you don't. What I'm saying is that there are some teams who are run specifically to make a profit, and that's absolutely fine. But when it comes to a cartel of those teams, they're the ones that benefit, not the players. And for me, sports is about the players. Yes, the teams are important, no doubt about it. And teams need players, players need teams, teams need organisers, organisers need teams, organisers need players. We all need each other. And that's what I want to have recognised, rather than one entity try and take over esports. I'm talking about this hypothetical oil baron who comes in and buys, say he buys Complexity, and he buys My Insanity, and he buys EG, and he buys Alliance, and CLG, and TSM, and Fnatic. We're fucked. We're totally fucked. As an organiser, Intel Extreme Masters, we don't get any of those teams anymore or any of their players. Oh my god. I mean, that's horrible for us as an organiser, but it's also horrible for all the other players. The other players are all going, oh, great, I've got a chance to win a tournament at Intel Extreme Masters now. Yeah, but we won't hold them anymore if we can't get the viewership and sell the sponsorship for those, because we aren't getting the viewership and we aren't getting the play. It's all very cyclical and kind of stuck together. So, you know, when I come back to my overarching point is we all need each other.
Sure.
I'm just not sure right now that one area is not more poachable, if you like. And I'm worried that the teams are potentially going to get to a point where they're owned by one person.
Yeah. It's just hard for me to wrap my head around it. I mean,
Sure.
that might be me being new and naive and just having good intentions and wanting to protect my players and loving esports and everything. It's just hard for me to wrap my head around it. But I mean, certainly the potential kind of exists, like what you're talking. I mean,
it does in organise as well. There's nothing stopping Sheikh Hel Mohammed from Saudi Arabia with his $1 billion to come in and buy ESL, then buy MLG, and then buy DreamHack, and then go, fuck you all, I'm just going to run my own tournament now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll invite these 10 teams. They could do that too. And I know this is, you know, there's no paranoia from me here, by the way. I'm literally just, I'm throwing some hypothetical things out there that I've seen happen in other sports. It's snooker. I don't know whether you guys know much about snooker, but it's a great example of a sport that nearly died. And a man called Barry Hearn, who used to be an agent of players, got one player, Steve Davis. He was the best in the world. Then he got another player, who was Stephen Hendry, who was also happened to be one of the best players in the world. And then suddenly he went from 2 to 4 to 6 to 8. And when he got 8, he decided to run the Matchroom League, and he started running his own leagues outside of all the normal tournaments. And all the other tournaments lost sponsorship money, they lost TV rights, they all ploughed their money to where the best 8 players were. Of course they did. And snooker as a governing body became really bad. It was almost on its death knees. And Barry Hearn said to them, I've now got 16 of the world's best players in my stable, let me run snooker. And they had no choice. So they made him the chairman. So he's now the chairman of all snooker. He decides how it works. The good news is, whilst he had a profit-bearing idea to take over snooker, he now actually runs it because he loves snooker, but also he's now putting that money back in, and he's now getting sponsorship back for the tournaments that lost it, and now getting TV rights back for it. So now it's okay again. But that's a lot of pain to go through to get back to where he was before, just that he could run it. And I'm scared we might get a Barry Hearn trying to run esports that doesn't have the same passion that we do.
For a relevant StarCraft 2 example, something like this could have happened. I don't know if you guys remember. I want to say it was 2 years ago. Remember when MLG signed a deal with Kespa?
Mm-hmm.
That could have been a really scary, depending on how that panned out. I guess nothing actually ended up coming out, or I'm not sure what exactly came out. But that could have been a really scary deal where MLG, gives some kind of special benefit to Kespa, whether it's covering all player travel or some kind of whatever. And then Kespa makes the agreement with MLG that, hey, since you're being so nice to us, we're not going to provide our players to any competitors to your tournament. And you can see where you get into really awkward scenarios like that, right? Where all of the bargaining powers with one party, and then it's like, well, what does that mean for everybody else,
Yeah, you're not going to always get that guy who, I'm not familiar with snooker. But you might not get that guy who comes in with the best intentions. They come in, get what they can out of it, milk it, drain it, and then they leave the carcass behind.
But in a very altruistic way, we've talked about player unions and maybe they're dangerous and what have you. But I mean, overall, I think we probably all agree that we need an esports federation, because something overarching at the top that looks down and doesn't just look after players, but it looks after teams' best interests too, and it can run things like transfer systems and hold contracts, and then if there's disputes between two teams, instead of having a team, I'm sure, Beef, you've had players at Complexity over the years. I know you have, because I know Jason very well. You've had players poached by other teams, and you've been pissed about it. And what did you do about it? Nothing, because you can't do anything about it. You've got Jason Lake, who is actually a lawyer by profession, and he can do fuck all about it. So if he can't do anything about it, then what chance do any of the other teams have to do if they get a player poached? Nothing. And it goes on frequently, and it goes on all the time in North America specifically, but it goes on all over the world. Again, something we need to have, a bit more regulated, so we protect the smaller teams, protect other teams that lose players, and actually get them some sort of compensation from the other team.
So
how about organizer? I'm an organizer, right? I'm with ESL. We run Intel Extreme Masters in ESL 1. How about a federation put some pressure on us for certain, player things like table width and table height and conditions and temperature in things? I'm sure Todd would probably go back to playing again. But seriously, We should have people like that in the federation, and that, I'm saying that as an organizer, that we should have a governing body that should be telling us, hey, you guys aren't good enough for X, Y, and Z, and we'd like you to fix that if you wouldn't mind. And if you don't, well, then we won't put our logo on you, and you can't have any of our teams or players. Well, guess what? I'm going to fucking fix that really quickly. Right, I don't want to lose those players or teams.
This is going to kind of move it into a different. We're going to stay with this, but this is going to move it into like, okay, well, what could we do with the unions? I'm not familiar with football, like European football. Do you guys have a player union? And if so, is it regulated internationally as one union?
Yeah. No. So if you just take England, I mean, pretty much everyone knows what the Premier League is in England. So we have the FA and we have the Football League. And the FA are the Football Association of England and Wales, and they look after football. So they look after the Premier League, the English football team, blah, blah, blah. But whilst they can ban and penalise players, there is also a player union. And that player union represents the players only. It represents them in disputes between teams, on disciplinary matters, and it works with the FA in conjunction with that. So that you don't have, the player union fighting the FA over something. Occasionally you do, because they argue, but most of the time they'll make, as Stephen pointed out earlier, it becomes like a compromise solution as to, well, we want this and you want that, well, let's meet somewhere in the middle.
Sure.
But the player union is also there to support the players for things like, and we haven't even touched on this yet, this is why I said to you earlier, you might not want to go too deep on this, we could be But how about this? We don't know when esports players are going to retire. There's no retirement age right now. We have no idea. Grubby's 29, White Ra's 32. Most of the players are between 16 and 23. But we have no idea how long their StarCraft or their esports careers are. With no idea, right? And yet, what are we doing for their future? Nothing. Do any teams currently have a pension scheme for any of their players? No.
Absolutely not.
Do any of their teams have insurance for their players? Most don't, if not all don't. And yet we're pissed on Riot when they offer an insurance plan for 25 grand, saying it's not enough. Well, no, you're right, it's not enough, but at least it's something. At least they've thought of that, and they've actually tried to protect their players in some way. So we've got a long way to go before we're actually, I mean, Beef said it earlier, teams can't even afford to pay the players proper money yet. We're not there yet in that respect. So we, as a players' union, they can't go in and start going, right, we want pension plans and 50 grand a month, and you'll pay this much transfer fee. We can't do that yet.
No, but we can definitely get into the position where we can start regulating and helping. And I think the way that we'd have to go about it, because we are despite the region lock, we don't have like, what do you call it, club soccer, club football, where it's just in England, Great Britain. You don't have that in America. You don't have that in Europe. You don't have these countries with they have a little bit of league, but they don't have one, big, hey, everyone's coming out to see, 900 people play. No one's filling venues with just one country. So
no.
I think that it's very international centric. So something perhaps like KESPA, Europe has its own, esports regulations. So these are the standards by which your players are going to be treated.
Absolutely. I mean, we have the Swedish Esports Federation. They're government supported and recognised in Sweden. We have the Korean one. We have the Chinese one as well. I think it's ACE out in China. They have their own, esports governing body that work alongside the Interior Ministry that get funded and helped. I think in Holland they also recognise esports as a traditional athletic sport, and I think it's attached to their Olympic Committee. It's happening all over the world, slowly but surely. It's happening all over the world, and I'm sure at some point all of these federations, and they have tried it in the past. We had UKESA in the UK, as bad as it was, but we had it, and all of these unions went out to Korea and had a big get together. Great, awesome. What came out of it? Nothing. But at least it's starting to go that way. But you're right, national federations are the way to go to start with, and then once we have enough of them, they come together and they have a global federation.
And I think that on the national level, it should be there should be the treatment of players by countries that own those teams. So let's say you're in America, you own a team. You have like 5 Swedish players. Well, you know what? The American regulation says this is how you're going to treat.
And
all
you know what?
players.
I would agree with you, except for one thing, right? The one great thing we have about esports, among many things, one of the great things is that we have no borders. We are truly global and truly have no issues with colour, creed, religion, or anything else.
I agree with you.
We,
and I think...
we are literally we are borderless, and so it's very difficult to then start going, okay, here's my scenario. Dignitas, they nick Beef from Complexity, right? And Beef had a contract with Complexity, and Jason Lake says, well, I want money then, because he had a contract with me. And Dignitas go, well, fuck you, we're under the UK Esports Federation. We don't even fucking know your federation. So there's no unit, you can't govern that.
No, I completely agree with you. So I think there needs to be a national level just for, there are certain things that need to be ran by your country. But I also think there should be, and this is where we kind of go into the, you can't have a FIFA for esports as a whole.
No, but you can have an IOC. But, I mean, the IOC run athletics, right? And you know, people keep making this comparison to FIFA, and I think it's wrong. FIFA is a one-game-only association. That's why it doesn't work in esport. We have multiple games.
Right.
So why not have the IOC system, which, yeah, okay, that's been corrupt as well, but the system itself governs all of the sports within the Olympics. It governs rowing, it governs hockey, netball, the 100-meter run, you know, all these different weird and wonderful sports within their own right. But they also all have their own little, you know, mini government of their own. So that's fine too.
And I think that's a great...
want to run League of Legends, that's cool. If Blizzard want to run StarCraft, that's cool. But you'll all come under one umbrella eventually, which is esports.
And I think that's absolutely every idea of, you know, how that could run. And I agree. I think it's a conversation we need to start having. You know, how do we... So that's, I guess, the next step. How do we get to that conversation? Someone's got to take the charge.
Well, yeah, and that's the funny thing, isn't it? I mean, I listened to the guys at the esports panel at the weekend, and they had a great panel, by the way. They had a real mixture of people on there, and one of the things that came out of it was, well, who steps up then? You know, does Grubby say, okay, from now on I'm going to be very transparent, I'm going to tell you exactly how much money I earn, which helps and hinders in different ways, right? Does Na'Vi suddenly go, do you know what, yeah, you're right, we're going to declare all of our money that we pay players? Does that make it good or bad? Well, for them, it could be bad because other teams then go, well, fuck, we'll poach all their players. We can pay them much more money. Or does it piss the other teams off because they think, well, shit, we can't pay these players that much money? And the players then revolt and say, yeah, we want more money because Na'Vi are playing X amount of money. Someone's got to blink at some point. So it's going to have to take someone to kind of stand up and just go, do you know what, fuck it. I'm going to try and do this. And if you want to be in with me, come along for the ride. And if we fail, well, at least we failed trying. And that's kind of how I feel about it. Someone has to step up and just do something. I mean, inevitably, someone else will then go, oh, he's got hidden interests. He works for DreamHack, and that's bad because then he's only interested in what DreamHack have to offer. So whoever steps up literally has to step up and go, right, fuck everything else that I'm involved in. I can't have any other ulterior motives. I've got to do this and do it on my own. The only person I can think of, and it's a really bad analogy, this one, you're going to hate this one, is Bernie Ecclestone. You know, he's been on corruption charges almost his entire life. He just paid 40 million to a court to get him out of a bribery charge, which to me sounds like a bribe, but whatever. The point is, he has been solely the guy that has taken Formula One from somewhere where it was pretty garagey, to be honest, and pretty niche, to worldwide dominance. And by that I mean it's bigger than anything in one single year viewership wise and money wise other than the Olympics and the Football World Cup. There's nothing bigger on a regular basis, and yet actually it probably shouldn't be. But he's done that because he was a dictator, he was single-minded, he looked after the teams were effectively what he saw as Formula One, the same way as I do see the players as being esports. He saw the teams as the guys that needed to get the money, and he got them the money from the television rights, which basically bypassed the FIA, which is the governing body. But now they work together because they know without each other they can't make F1 work and get the money that they get in. So I think it's going to take someone, and I hope it's someone that's passionate and intelligent and smart that can look after esports, but someone's going to have to step up at some point and take it by the ball by the horns and just ignore the doubters and push on through it and get support from everyone that they can.
I completely agree with you. Anyone else have anything on that? Yeah? All right. I guess wrap that topic up. I think I think it's absolutely right. We do need to get there, and kind of going with the poaching thing. That we could take that for a perfect example. players come up, the esports organizations come up together, they form this federation, and they decide, okay, look, hey, we're going to be transparent, we're going to make these revelations, but before we do that, we're going to set penalties for poaching, right? If, you have to be on a recognized esports team that can compete in recognized esports events, you have to have player contracts. That's not hard, that's not, difficult to do,
Yep.
You get those player contracts. From then on, it's then, okay, you want to break a contract, you either have to you have to pay. If you don't pay, you get a penalty, and that might be suspension from 10 premier events from your specific esport, and 5 from another. So you can't just jump over to League of Legends from StarCraft and start performing there just to make it for the time. There has to be a significant punishment to prevent that. So now okay, well Destiny is paying his fucking outsourced players 10 cents a day, and that's about it. No one's going to come in and say, I'll give you $25 a day, and you can come to my team.
I mean, the panel said that the disclosure of earnings and what have you should be done. It should be one of the things that's done. I don't necessarily agree. No other sport really does that. I mean, we all speculate. We say things like, "Oh, Wayne Rooney's got a new contract at Man United. He's getting 200 grand a week," but we don't really know. We're just speculating, really. I'm sure there's a few insiders that leak money, and that's how it gets out. But there's nothing ever official. There's nothing logged anywhere. And I don't think that's really the issue. I think the issue is more about the contracts themselves. So if you have a federation or an association or whatever you want to call it, and teams are registered with that, and so are the players, then all the teams have to do is lodge the contract with the association. And the association holds on to that contract until there is a dispute or the contract becomes null and void. And if there's a dispute, they arbitrate between the player and the team to come up with a solution. If they can't, then
maybe we should start
fines or whatever. I don't look at a federation or an association or a union as being the stick wielding entity that I think a lot of other people look at it as. I look at it as a vehicle for improvement and for better communication.
I agree with you, and I guess one of the biggest issues we might be able to money aside, all that aside, it's people. Do we have we have a lot of people that are the heads of their community. We have In Control, we have we have Destiny, we have people that they're, and then League of Legends, Dota, whatever the hell, I don't know who's top of those, but we have these people that everyone knows, a lot of people trust, except Destiny, and these people, I'm kidding, Steve is a very reputable, young, handsome man. But
I thought you meant Stephen didn't trust anyone. I was about to agree.
But the point being that who's going to step up? Who's going to leave?
Yeah.
Is Jeff going to leave EG to go start this? Are you going to? You said you would, but you know what I mean. Who is going to step up?
I'll say something serious to you, right? I'm that passionate about it, and I believed it that much that if I could get a crowdfunder that would pay the wages I'm currently on with ESL, which isn't actually as much as people think it is, that would cover me for the next 12 months so I can pay my bills, I will step down from ESL today, I will step down from hosting, I will step down from all the other stuff I do and focus 100% on putting a player union or a federation together. I'm absolutely serious about it as well, because that's the kind of thing we're going to need to do. Someone's going to have to do it.
I think that's something that definitely should continue the discussion. I think anyone sees this VOD, it's something that the right people hear that. Even you. I don't think there's any question in my mind with support from the CS:GO community, with StarCraft community, you could get that accomplished. Maybe.
I think I'm in a probably with people like Duncan and Richard Lewis and a few others, Slasher probably as well. I'm one of the few people, I guess, that I transcend many games. I'm an esports fanatic. I don't have a single game which I'm solely passionate about. I love StarCraft, but equally I've found that I'm really loving Dota as well. But I enjoy League of Legends. There's no harm in me saying that I enjoy all of these games, and I love Counter-Strike, and I've loved it for 12 years. So I think it probably does need someone that is passionate about esports as a whole, not just not just one thing. I mean, Carmack is another guy that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. He's an esports guy through and through. He loves his Quake and his Unreal Tournament, sure, but he loves esports.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of guys like that. I know it's sometimes hard to see them all, but there are lots and lots of people like that in the industry.
Absolutely. Oh.
Whoa.
That's quite loud.
Yeah. Okay, so Steven, is there anything you could tell us? Are you going to be involved in the Home Story Cup coming up?
I don't know. Keg hasn't talked to me at all about it yet, so I'm
Yeah.
guessing probably not. But the last one was kind of short notice, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it kind of seemed. I mean, I don't know how many people behind the scenes get talked to about that. ReDeYe, you going to be there at all?
I spoke a little bit with Take today. I'm not going to be there in an official capacity, but I've been a couple of times before. They're always fantastic events. They really are.
Absolutely.
Really sociable, a lot of fun. I can really kind of let my hair down a little bit more there than I can perhaps, being the serious space of hosting or what have you. So it's quite nice for me. So not an official, but I'm going to try and get over for the weekend. It's in a new venue this time round as well. I think that's the big news.
Oh.
So I'm just hoping that they can keep the same kind of feel and fun that they have at the other ones.
That's always it. It's a great tournament. Wonder if they're going to compete this year. Kane, have you competed at a Home Story Cup yet?
Nope.
No?
Got to do it.
Not
Kane.
yet. I know.
Gotta do it.
I think one of my favorite highlights was Destiny last year. The the caster hype. That was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too. Man after my own heart.
Yeah, it's hard to watch casts now. Like, there's certain casts people will do that hype, and I kind of, it kind of gets in my head, and I can't take them seriously.
Do you know what? We're actually StarCraft is actually probably the best game and has probably the most professional but fun casters of all of the games. We're so blessed. You have no idea how lucky you are. If you're only a StarCraft fan right now, you have no idea how lucky you are.
I've gone into...
Some of the other games they really struggle. Dota not so much, and obviously League not so much, but some of the other games, they really don't have a very deep pool.
But I've watched the League casting, and I don't feel as excited. I mean, I have a minimal understanding of the game, but even then, when I first started watching StarCraft, I didn't have a huge understanding, but I still got goosebumps, I don't see it in League. I think we do have some of the most talented casters as far as, maybe it's just the dynamic of the game that provides that.
Maybe. I mean, I got massive hype watching Worlds this week. There were 2 or 3 really, really good games to watch with, there were lots of mistakes. So from a purist point of view, you kind of looked at it and went, it's not so good. But actually, from an excitement point of view and the way the casters worked, it was absolutely amazing. I think Joe and D-Man and Jack, probably 3 of the most talented commentators we've got in esports.
Yeah, it's definitely. So before we move into the next topic, which is going to be a quick discussion of GSL, I want to announce something. So the late game has been. We have our first sponsor. I spoke with the owner and founder of Esportsify. If you guys haven't heard about it, it's a website that now allows players and teams to create a website. It's really easy. You go and you sign up. I think it's free to sign up, and then you can pay for different packages and all that. It's got a very easy to use content management system, and I'm already getting ready to start. The site that's going to host the late game, Gosu Pizza, and a couple other shows that are coming up. All are going to be hosted on this, so you'll get to really see what I'm able to do with it, and I'm by no means a web developer. So let's see if I can pull this up a little bit. No, can't do it. All right, so go to esportsify.com, and the code you can use from the late game is a live game. You go to Esportsify, use code a live game. I am not shitting you. It is a live game spelled as such.
Do you have to pay extra if you use the code DEADGAME?
I don't know. I don't think so, no. But a live game, and you get 10% off for life, so that's forever. And they do some cool stuff. I don't know if they still do it.
That's really cool for you. I'm pleased for you as well.
Thank you. And so yeah, I want to give a real quick shout out to Wisecracks. Last week we had a show match between Complexity's QXC and Midday, and he's sponsoring these show matches between them. So it's $125, and we didn't do one this week, but we're going to do one next week, and that is Wisecracks. You guys see him in the chat. Give him a follow at Wisecracks. And before we move on to the last topic, before we check a few of the questions and lose some people, ReDeYe, you want to tell people where they can find you?
Wait, in terms of social media, you mean?
Yep.
I'm on Twitter at Paul Challoner, and on Facebook, Paul ReDeYe Challoner.
And any events coming up for you in the near future?
No, I have no events. I have we have WCS round of 8 this weekend. So you have round of 8 and semis and final 4th and 5th of October. Then on the I have to get this right. Next week we're at New York for ESL 1, and then a few more to come after that. Obviously, IEM San Jose is in December. Cologne's coming up as well. There's all sorts going on for the next few months. But you'll hear there's going to be some announcements over the next couple of weeks about some other stuff that's ESL related and also ReDeYe related as well. So, yeah, lots of stuff coming out.
Awesome. Beef, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at coL.Beef. That's COL_beef. And, of course, always check out my organization, Complexity Gaming, at complexitygaming.com. for StarCraft 2, Dota, League of Legends, and now Hearthstone. Got lots of players and lots of teams doing cool things all the time, so check that out.
Oh, when you say, you have like a really nice voice, and when you say beef, it's like the way a commercial would advertise beef. I want your voice to be advertising beef.
There you go.
Kane.
Hello.
I noticed of all the players, by the way, we're outnumbered by Zerg. I mean, I know ReDeYe plays Terran Beef. What do you play? StarCraft. Beef.
Sorry. I got completely distracted. I was doing a commercial in my head for Beef. I was practicing my voiceover. Yeah.
Would you play in StarCraft? You play Zerg? Okay, yeah, we're outnumbered by Zerg. So, Kane, where can they find your Zerg ass?
At mYi.Kane on Twitter. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah? What do you got coming up?
I have a Take TV tournament coming up. I think it's called Against the Odds. And that's all I have right now. I think there's a qualifier for the Foreign Hope tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, there is.
That's the tournament run by Mattles, right?
Correct.
Cool. Yeah, you guys need to check out Mattles tournaments. He's been putting out a lot of great content. Check out his YouTube channel. He just put out a bunch of videos from DreamHack, some APM videos and interviews. And also tonight, Ascended Star League. It is going to be Puck versus Hendralisk tonight. So check that out. I think that's at 9 o'clock Eastern time. So it's twitch.tv/Ascended Star League or Ascended Starcraft. And lastly, but most certainly not least, Destiny. Where do people find you?
At Steven_Bonnell, BONNELL, or my website, destiny.gg.
Anything coming up?
Nope. More CSGO.
More CSGO. Gotta get gold back, right? I just got placed in silver too. I feel like a scrub.
Nice.
You are a scrub.
I am a scrub. Oh, last announcement before we go to GSL. Show coming up soon called Scrubs, and it's basically where I pay players to come coach me live on stream. They'll take your questions. We'll go through an hour or two of random games. It's not just going to be StarCraft. It's going to be Hearthstone, League of Legends, Dota, all the games that I suck at. We're going to bring players in and from your favorite teams, and it'll be a lot of fun. So look forward to that. It'll be here, and you can follow me. I am a media whore. I love attention, so please follow me at LikeandGTV. I tweet my random thoughts. It's because when you favorite it, I feel relevant. So, at LikeandGTV. So, innovation versus Sue. I am freaking pumped. And here's my theory about this, and I'm going to talk to ReDeYe because I know you study the players a lot. I believe that if Sue loses Game 1, and then Game 2, there's going to be an exponential increase of him having this mental block that he has always been second place in these finals.
No way.
Not even after coming off this last one.
No, he is now the king of Kongs. There's no doubt about it. 4 GSL finals, 3 of them have already finished second. Now he's done it at DreamHack as well. What does the guy have to do to get a break to win a tournament, for crying out loud? I don't think we should forget what innovation has done before. We know what he's like in finals and throwing 3-0 leads away. So I don't think necessarily Sue's going to sit there and worry about any of the previous tournaments that he's been in. If he goes 3 down, I don't think he'll play any differently. Look at the semi-final. He was 3-1 down in there. He looked like he might have gone out in Game 5 as well. Could have gone out in Game 6 at one point. I think he'll be fine. I'm as a Terran, I hope Innovation wins, because he would then qualify for BlizzCon, and it's the only way he's going to qualify for BlizzCon, by the way. The downside to that is that if he wins, then Snoot can't go. So that's bad. So I want Sue to win. But then if Sue wins, then actually that could mean that both Snoot and Jaedong don't go. and I don't want that to happen either. So I want Innovation to win. But then Snoop won't. I don't know. Fuck.
It's intense. There's a lot of.
There's all that going on, right?
Yeah.
And at the very end of the semi-final, I was like, "Oh my god, I got the dream final! It's Sue versus Innovation." I'm so hyped. I was literally at the end of the semi-final, just already thinking about the GSL finals. So it comes on our prep day. We're going to be in the WCS studio in the morning, and I'm pretty sure that all of us are just going to be watching GSL all day until someone tells us you have to go and rehearse. You have to go downstairs and do a show. Oh, do we really? We want to do GSL final.
That's next Saturday,
I'm
right?
looking forward to it. It's going to be fabulous. Yeah, next Saturday. This Saturday coming. 4 days. So it's going to be amazing.
Can't wait. What about you, Kane? What are you thinking?
It'll be so good. I think that Sue's got this though.
Yeah.
Because it's been Protoss all the way, like all the other finals, I think. And Sue's ZVT is way better than his ZVP. He showed it in Pro League versus players like Maru, Cure, and other players. I don't see him losing this finals, but I've said that before.
Hold on one
Yeah.
second. Destiny, no worries.
Yeah,
So-
okay.
Yeah.
I have to take off. I love you guys. It's been fun. I'll
See you
later.
guys.
Bye, Destiny.
See you, buddy.
Peace out, guys. Good luck.
All right, now everything's screwed up and they can't see you properly.
It
Anyway,
happens.
so sorry about that, Kane. So you think
No.
Sue's going to take it?
Yeah, I think he's got it. I don't see him losing another finals. If he does, though, I don't know. I think we might see, like, not a retirement, but I think we might see Sue drop off if he loses his finals, because just that mental block, I don't know, man. It's going to be rough.
He's definitely the 2014 version of J-Dong. There's no doubt about that. And it does worry me a little bit, as Kane just said, about him. If he ends up not winning, he still has to go to BlizzCon and kind of ignore that and try and win 4 games. And you could almost see him go through a bracket and get to the final again. I mean, how extraordinary would it be? Like, we're sitting here 12 months on from the first time he reached the GSL final, when not many people knew. I mean, we knew who he was, but we didn't really know him as a top player. And he got to that season 3 final, and then when he did it again at the start of this year, everyone was like, "Oh, okay, well, maybe we have to take this guy seriously. 2 in a row, that's pretty cool. Not only MVP's done that." And then he made 3 in a row, and we were all like, "Okay, well, all right, this guy's the real deal." But is he? Because he still hadn't won a GSL. Now he's made 4 GSL finals in a row, which is absolutely unprecedented. It's an incredible achievement whether he wins or he loses. But now he has to go to BlizzCon. And so, if he wins that, I think everyone forgets about the fact, and we then are looking at basically the greatest player in StarCraft 2. I mean, that's how big that is.
I think he's already coming up on that edge as well.
I think he's the best Zerg on the planet right now.
There's no doubt that he's the best Zerg. I don't think anybody can question that.
No.
And I don't think many people would question the fact that he's the most consistent player that we have right now as well.
But you should be surprised by how easy Solar beat him through that.
I was, especially because of their GSL group where Sue basically demolished Solar. I forget if it was best of 5 or best of 3, but Sue beat him without dropping a map, and it was just a stomping of a series. So I really think that either jet lag or mind games or something was at play there. But yeah, I don't know what happened there. I really don't. ZVZ can be a bit volatile, but it's not that volatile that you lose 3-0 to a player like that.
It's not as volatile as PvP is, so...
No, no. And Sue wasn't playing up to his normal play either. He did some weird decisions, and I've talked to him before, and it didn't seem like... This seems silly to say because he's such a better player, but it didn't seem like he was doing the things that he was comfortable doing. And I could be completely wrong there, but when you're in a tournament like that, you need to do the things that you're comfortable with, Yeah. So I found that series so strange.
GSL semi-final, the first few games, he just didn't look like he was himself at all. And then something clicked, he just changed his whole way of playing, and then the last 3 games were just ridiculous. So
yeah. I don't know, man. I'm just so excited to see this finals. I think it's going to be really good, and I think even if you're a Protoss player, I wouldn't be surprised if this finals gets more viewers than any other. I don't know, like I'm not talking 2011, 2012, but I think this season
Probably
will be
best of
really
the year.
hyped.
Yeah, probably the
I
best of the
agree.
year in terms of GSL finals for sure.
I think so. Yeah.
I think it's going to be exciting, but you don't think that the past is catching up to him. There was a little tip about it on Twitter. You don't think he's seeing the king of second place, comments, and that's going to be in his mind when he sits down in that booth.
No, I'm sure Kane will tell you, and I'm sure Beef will tell you, and I say the same from 1873 when I last played professionally. You let stuff get that to you outside of playing, but as soon as you sit down and you're in the game, you aren't thinking about stuff like that. I guarantee you are. Maybe in between maps you kind of go, well, shit, what's going on here? I'm 3-0 down. I'm going to lose again. And then you kind of have to go, okay, like, forget the crap outside. I'm in a booth. Nobody can see me. I'm not on TV. I'm going to concentrate on my game. I'm in my bedroom again. Let's get down to business now. And once you're in there, the 30 seconds is gone. The nerves go out of your body. Your stomach stops churning, and you're so focused on the game. This is why I sometimes doubt when players say, yeah, I could definitely hear the commentator. I'm like, bullshit. You have no idea what the commentator is saying because you are so focused on what you're doing. There is no capacity to think about anything else, let alone hear anything else. So, I don't know if Kane's had the same experience, but I'm convinced that they're so focused on stuff. They're not worried about that stuff once the game starts.
Like once I was laddering at home, and my girlfriend actually came in and entered the house and was sitting directly behind me. We don't live together, but she had a key at the time, and I did not hear a single thing. And I turned around and she was just there, So it's stuff like that. I mean, you don't pay attention to anything. And I've gotten phone calls, I've gotten text messages, doorbells have rang. My parents have been yelling at me. I don't hear any of that stuff when I'm in a game. You're just focused on the game.
Yep.
You're focused on what you're doing. You're focused on what your opponent's doing. And I agree with what you said about players complaining about commentators and stuff. It's so easy to make that excuse. And sure, sometimes it might be true. But I don't know how frequent it is true.
Well, I will say that, from my one time playing on stage against Suppy, as soon as I heard the crowd cheering, I knew some shit was up. And next thing I know, slow overlords are bringing banelings into my base.
Yeah.
That's going to be my stupid example of my experience, which is stupid and irrelevant because
it's not. I mean, crowds do have an impact. If you let them, and that's what Beef was saying earlier on about, what's the point in sending players that maybe aren't good enough to make the round of 8? Well, because at some point you hope they will be, but they can't get there without experiencing what it's like to play in front of a crowd and on a big stage. You have to give them that experience. I mean, I've never played in front of a big crowd. I think the most crowd that ever watched me play was about 30 people. So it didn't really matter to me. But I can tell you what, when I was at home and I went to LAN, and I had to put up with these shitty wooden boards that I got fucking splinters in my wrists from, I was like, what the fuck is this? And I was enraged by it. I was Todd-like enraged. And I'm saying to the guys, like, can I not have a cloth? And they're like, a cloth? Are you some sort of pansy? What the hell? I'm like, the wood is cutting my wrist. Look, I've got splinters in my wrist. And they're like, put out with it. What do you think this is? It's not professional sport. Well, guess what? And that pissed me off, and it pissed me off to the point where I didn't play as well. I didn't feel like I played as well. So there are all these annoyances, lots of different annoyances. Wrong kind of plastic, wrong table height, wrong depth of the table, chairs not comfortable enough, chairs that won't go up right, air conditioning not being able to turn on, air conditioning too cold, lights too strong, lights not strong enough. There are so many factors that you have to give players the opportunity to go and play in front of that, and the crowd is one of those things, and the commentary is one of those things too. I think it's good that they get a chance to go and do that.
Side note: did Flash bring his ruler to IEM? I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never known him not use it. And he did complain at one point about a couple of things as well. And unfortunately, he then got rained on by the air conditioning unit overflowing.
But he kicked ass anyway.
Yeah, which is really funny. And some players play better. Some players are able to just adapt to stuff like that. Yeah, and I know some players who they don't care about the space between their keyboard and their mouse and how deep the table is or what it's made of or splinters in there. They don't care about that. They sit down and they play, and that's a really great thing for them. But there are other players who are much more sensitive to stuff. So
speaking of IEM, I want to show this off. Can you show everyone a close-up of your shirt, please?
A close up of my shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
let's try that. Does that work? I can't
Yeah.
see my screen.
Yeah.
You're
That's good.
a
So-
much better storyteller than me. Will you give a rundown for those who didn't see it?
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry to put you on the spot. It's a good shirt.
Well, yeah, I mean, the T-shirt's just a tribute to what became a little bit of a meme thing afterwards, which was that we were doing Intel Extreme Masters in Toronto. We were about to go live, and it was an open-ish area at the front of the stage, and we were on the couches on the left-hand side. And I should say, it's in the middle of a very big convention that's going on as well. It's Fan Expo, where lots of famous people come down and sign stuff and take photographs with fans. And 30 seconds I get in my ear. The producer says 30 seconds to live, and Jarrett's going to, introduce the players on the stage. And this guy comes in and he starts shouting at me quite loudly, but I still had a headset on. So I took my headset off and I said, "I'm really sorry, I can't hear you." And he says, "Turn the fucking volume down." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm sorry, I'm like, we're about to go live, and I have no idea how to turn. I can't turn the volume down. But if you go backstage, I'm sure someone backstage will help you. I've got to go backstage." I'm like, and he storms through the set, and I'm like, "Whoa, no, you can't go through there. Excuse me, you can't go through. Hello, you can't go. We're about to go. You need to leave." And he just ignores me and goes straight through the back and then through the back curtain, and I don't see him again. And then in my ear it says, "Okay, Jarrett's coming to you." So he throws it over. And I'm like, okay, and I do my intro, and I'm about to start the chat, and I can see in the corner of my eye he's coming back through. And instead of just walking out to the side, he comes through the shot. And I say to him, "Please don't walk through the shot." And he just walks straight past anyway. And I said, "What an idiot." At which point he then decides to come back and confront me live on the show, and stands literally in front of the camera, bending over, all aggressive in my face, and asking me what I'd called him and all the rest of it. And at that point I was like, okay, this guy's very angry. I'm just going to try and keep this as calm as I could. What most people don't know is, in my head, all I could think of was, save the broadcast, 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 please go away, save the broadcast, save the broadcast. That's all I could think of at the time. Unfortunately for me, Carmack came over and restrained the guy. He didn't like that very much. And Carmack was, very polite to him as well, and just asking him simply to leave. And Jarrett came over and asked him to leave, and then the stage manager came over and said, "Just get out."
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, basically. We thought it would all calm down, but then the event organisers and the police got involved, and they asked me if I wanted to press charges, which I think was crazy.
Wow.
Was he anyone, or was he just a fan?
He turned out he was actually running a booth.
Okay, you don't have to add him or
He was
anything.
annoyed at how loud it had got, which I understand.
Yeah.
And he was obviously having a bad day, so I didn't want it to be taken any further. There's no need to get silly about it and press charges or anything stupid like that. But the event people were very concerned about it, and I said, look, as long as he stays away and doesn't do it again, I'm fine. And so I think they just went over and warned him. So, yeah, a storm in a teacup, really. But of course, it happened on a live show. So
that was what made it kind of like a little more of a moment, is that it happened live and we all saw it. But I like your shirt. We're getting close to wrapping up. We'll take a couple questions from the Reddit thread. This one's from Fear Dragon. Everyone knows him. Check out the Breaking Out Invitational. I don't have his commercial to run, but I'm going to get that from him. Check out Fear Dragon. A lot of North American players that are coming up, that are getting signed to little bigger teams as the years go along. So it's definitely good to see them as they're younger. But his question is, and this is for you, ReDeYe, I assume. Well, it says for everyone, but I think ReDeYe will have a good start to it. How do you feel WCS America should handle the unexpected influx of lesser-known players next year in terms of building stories for them? With so many unknown players expected to suddenly pop up, how do you create a broadcast we'll still want to watch, despite not knowing many of the players?
I think that's the exciting thing, isn't it? We're going to find some new talent, and there's never a better story than David beats Goliath. So, great. I mean, I think we discover a load of talent that perhaps we didn't know about. We give the opportunity to a few players that are up and coming, that we know about now, that are in the background, but actually will have a genuine shot of making the Premier League. And the guys like Rotterdam and Nathanius and the guys at ESL America will will love to be able to put new stories together. It's sometimes harder when you have the same players back every season because you're like, okay, we know MC's the most winningest prize money earner in history. We know he's about to get 500 grand. We've known this for a long time now, and everyone, including my auntie, who has never seen a StarCraft game in her life, knows MC is the man who's won more prize money than anyone else. So I'm kind of getting bored with that storyline. We need to invent. Yeah, he likes meat. Yeah, we've had that story before. We know about it. So actually, when you get new guys in, actually, it gives you a fresh impetus. I think it's actually quite nice from a broadcast standpoint, and it's great for the players as well because some of the limelight gets shifted to them, but also it means some of the pressure is taken off other players. Kane's had this in the last 6 months since he really sort of burst onto the scene in a bigger way and started beating some very reputable Korean players. I'm sure the pressure on him was suddenly everyone expected Kane to start winning tournaments and doing breakout stuff, and it doesn't happen like that all the time, and especially for foreign players, it's much harder. So it's almost nicer for him because the spotlight will be on some other new American or Canadian or Mexican hope that could take all the pressure away from him and kind of let him just get on with his job quietly and make plenty of money and get to the round of 8. So no, it'd be good.
Yeah, I gotta agree with what ReDeYe said there. I mean, I cast a game called Heroes of Newerth for a few years now, and back in 2012 we had a big exodus of players that were going to be going to Dota 2, and it brought in this entire new wave of players that were your amateurs or your lower level pros that we didn't know as much about. And building the storylines and getting to know those players is something phenomenal. And now those players are on the top of the world, or they're either in Heroes of Newerth or other games in MOBAs. I mean, guys like Zai, currently of Evil Genius's Dota, was one of those players that we had no clue who he was at the beginning of 2012. He was this 14-year-old who went on to win 3 lands in a year, get the MVP of the Year award, and now is considered one of, if not the best players in all of Dota at 16 years old. Yeah. So at some point you gotta see that it's a good thing to have those new players coming in. You get to create those new storylines, and you get to see new talent.
Mm. Yeah, there's a show, Breaking Out, which covers North American up-and-coming players.
That's the guy who asked the question, actually, that's Fear Dragon.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, that's great. It's like a pre-show for WCS next year. You should watch it.
And one thing I do have to mention is this is where the casters will earn their money. It's their job to create storylines, and it's their job to research the players and such beforehand. And I got to give huge props to, especially Nathanius and Rotterdam. I don't know if I'm forgetting other casters, but they're actually really, really good at researching players beforehand, and especially because they're quite high on the North American ladder as well. They're really good at kind of knowing what the players are like, what their styles are, stuff like that.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that you brought that up because it is important. It's the job of everyone on a show that covers StarCraft or any other game for that matter to make sure that that comes forward. But it's not just about the players and how they play and what maps they like or don't like and how they play in terms of their race and what have you. It's also about their personality. We want to know who these people are. What I personally love doing as a host or as an anchor host is to kind of unravel the mystery of the player behind the facade of the game, because we all hide, players hide behind their races, or in League or Dota they hide behind the heroes that they play, and that's all right. I get it. They play Brewmaster really well, brilliant, great, but I really want to know who this kid is. I want to know why I should root for him. I want to know that he's struggled through life, or that last year he had to buy his mum out of a mortgage debt, or Dendy's story is incredibly touching with his father, for instance, and I think that humanises the player. It makes them more open, and I think we still need to do a better job, but I think we've done a much better job this year. Everyone in esports has done a much better job overall of doing that and making us really buy into who the players and the teams are.
I very much agree. I think that pretty much sums it up, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be an exciting year, whether or not you are for the change, you're against it. This year is going to be exciting, and despite the bad, I'm looking forward to seeing the good that can come from it. Let's see if we have any more questions, getting this wrapped up. Trying to summarize this point, it's castative off Reddit, and basically a lot of people complain about strong Kespel players not making it to BlizzCon, and they think it's Blizzard's fault of not giving them enough points in Korea. This guy feels that it's 100% Kesp's fault for restricting their players' ability to participate in the international circuit. You guys have any thoughts on that? All right,
that's a hard question.
It is a really tough question, actually. I don't think it's anyone's fault. I mean, it just is what it is, and I know that's a really shitty answer, but it.
No,
again, I mean, I'll say what I said earlier, which was that what are you trying to do for BlizzCon? Because that's what it comes down to. Are you trying to get the best 16 players in the world there? No, that's not the aim of the competition. That's not the aim of what the World Championship Finals is in WCS. Is it to get a nice selection of players from each of the regions and a representative amount of players from each region? Yeah, I think that's one of its goals. Does it want the best players there? Of course it does. But are all 16 going to be guaranteed to be the best 16 in the no system can actually guarantee that.
Right.
But some other systems could potentially do that better. I think that's what it comes down. I think there were 29 qualifying tournaments this year, of which the Koreans could have gone to all of them if they really wanted to. Yes, they would have had to have missed out on Pro League. Yes, they would have had to have missed a couple of GSL matches. So technically probably not possible. But could they have gone to 10? Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Had they done so, I don't think we'd have the 16 that we've got in the top 16 right now. So I think they had similar opportunities to everyone else. But having said that, I still believe that the GSL is by far and away the strongest league in the world, and it should be rewarded as such. And I think it was almost criminal in a way that Sue had reached 2 GSL finals, but was still on the bubble of going to BlizzCon. And only because he did well at DreamHack and in the final season of GSL and reached yet another final is he now in. And he's ranked 9. And he made 3 GSL finals this year.
No, I agree. And let's take away the BlizzCon qualification. Do you think there's any issue with how they regulate player participation outside of Korea?
No, I mean it's very complicated because you've got Kesper in there as well. I mean, I still don't think we should give points to Pro League. I just think it's the wrong thing to do. I think you artificially inflate players that aren't playing the same system.
Yeah.
It's a team game for starters. You're there at the behest of your coach, and whether your coach feels you should play a particular match or a particular map, or play against a particular person, or play that weekend at all. That doesn't seem the right way to reward someone for playing in Pro League to me. That said, we do have an issue with the players that play in Pro League not then being able to play at other tournaments, and I think giving more points to GSL could potentially help that. But I don't think it's the whole answer.
No, I can agree with that. Either of you guys have anything on that one? No? Okay, that's cool. Do you think Kane? Do you think there's any middling penguin wants to know if you think there's anything that needs to be done to help Zerg in the matchup of TVZ?
Okay. So ZVT right now went through two major changes. First was the Hellbat buff, whereby Hellions can now transform into Hellbats without the armory upgrade or whatever it was before. So now, as soon as you get an armory, you can transform them. Secondly, the Widowmine got buffed, so I think it was the radius that got buffed, or the damage, one of the two. Either way, the Widowmine's better now. So the Widowmine change I'm fine with. The Hellbat buff was in order to slow down the Zerg's economy in the early and mid game. And the way that it works now is that Zerg has to prepare for a bunch of different all-ins. It can be Cloak Banshee, it can be Hellbat all-in, it can be a Marine Hellbat timing. So there's a bunch of different timings now that all require slightly different responses from the Zergs. So what that does to Zerg is it really slows down their economy, I think almost more than Blizzard intended to do. So I think that once Zerg gets to mid-game, a lot of the complaints now are about the Widow Mine and how strong it is, and I think that can be kind of nullified by swarm hosts. But unfortunately, swarm hosts are not a very entertaining way to play for a lot of players, and not a very entertaining way for spectators to watch the game. But I think the answer right now in TVZ is swarm hosts, but I think we're not seeing that just because of the style that they introduce and the games that are a result of that style of play.
Swarm hosts.
So go ahead.
No, it's again, I'm going to preface this absolutely. I wish QXC was here because I need someone to be the good Terran that actually really knows. But I will say that from what I see, I mean, it's a very difficult strategy to play against if you go someone that's going swarm host Hydralisk Roach or swarm host Mutalisk. Drops are getting denied. It's a very hard force to attack into, and there is a point where you reach a critical mass of swarm hosts, and you cannot effectively trade bio against the Locust.
Yeah,
that is correct. So what it essentially does is it forces the Terran to go into a mechanical game, whether that's biomech or just straight up mechanical with a big air army. So it does result in very long games, and I don't know if that's the route Blizzard wants to go down, but that's the route that it's going to right now.
Yeah, and it's so I get what you're saying about the economy hindrance, but now you've always had two base swarm hosts. It's still, you get caught off guard with that, and you don't have tanks. It's gonna hurt. You go with Roach Hydralisk, the 1/1 timing on Roaches. The speedling all ins and all that. I mean, the map pool doesn't really favor that one too much nowadays, but there are still a lot of issues that Terran face with early Zerg aggression. Do you not think that they've kind of evened each other out, and it's more of an early gotta read what he's going to do kind of thing for both parties?
Well, obviously, I think that scouting is very important for both parties, but I don't know. For Zerg, it's very hard to scout Terran just because of the Marines. Like, oftentimes now players will go 1 Reaper into Reactor Marines and deny the Overlord scout with 2 to 4 Marines. Zerg, unfortunately. The thing is that Terran kind of requires the same response to every all-in, and that's just to build more bunkers. So once you scout that an all-in is coming, you build bunkers, whereas Zerg can't reactively really do that. Like once, and I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to get at here, but all I'm saying is that I think that Zerg is having a little bit of trouble defending really early Hellbat timings.
No,
a little more than they should, I think.
Right, because you have to spend that money on the money that you would spend to get your economy ramped up, which is the basis of Zerg. You're now spending on early game units, which can put you behind if you take a bad engagement. Right,
and once they deny scouting with those 4 Marines, it's really hard to know what they're doing. It's hard to know whether they're going to do a Marine Hellbat drop. It's hard to know whether they're going to do a Marauder Hellbat timing, which we don't see too often. Cloak Banshees, they can do double Reactor Hellion Hellbat transformations. It's really hard to know what they're doing.
Or just do what I did on the ladder this morning at my level and just keep building Reapers.
You can do that. That's kind of the rough style of play.
I won with Mass Reapers this morning.
I think somebody at Red Bull
as well.
Someone at Red Bull actually did that. I think it was
Red Bull. QXC.
Was it?
It's QXC?
No,
okay.
I didn't even see that game.
I didn't see the QXC.
I wish I had seen that. Now I'm gonna have to go and find that one.
Yeah.
Ruff did a really weird one. This was at Red Bull Atlanta, and Ruff goes in and he builds he just starts Reapers, 50.
Yeah, that's all I did.
4 Reapers, and he goes in and then he's like, "Well, I need high ground vision. How am I going to get that?" He builds a fucking command center right outside the Zerg's base, and he floats it up in it and lands, and then turns it into a planetary. Still lost the game, but it was insane. I think after that he followed it up with 3 reactor starports.
I actually didn't get that far because at my level, they see 15 Reapers in their base and they're like, "What the fuck?" And the guy actually typed WTF, and I type what ? He's like, "So much cheese." And I'm like,
"You know how long it
Reapers
takes to make
aren't
50
cheese.
Reapers?"
Yeah, I was like, "I'm not even up to 50 Reapers yet." And then he just types GG and leaves.
Yeah, I guess QXC did one, and of course,
funny.
I'm sure QXC's look pretty damn fantastic.
Yeah, at Red Bull Detroit versus Honer.
Okay, I'm gonna find that one and watch it.
All right,
but
yeah,
there was
not right now, but I just want to.
It was funny.
Yeah, so I mean, I get what you're saying, Ken. I think but we go back to what we talked about earlier. The game is in a really great state of balance, and I guess it could just be kind of like the way I feel about TPT. It's a very stressful start of the game. You've got that 10 minutes where you're both trying to assault each other, and the first one to get the person's back is going to take it.
And honestly, I feel like TVZ is in a really balanced state right now, but I fear that it's going to turn into Swarm host every game once the Koreans start doing it. I know Saxry started doing it, and once one Korean starts doing it and sees how well it works, other Koreans are going to start doing it. So I just don't know if that's the kind of balance that you want in StarCraft 2. Because I know a lot of players find that really boring to watch or to play. But I do feel like it's in a really, really balanced state right now, and I really enjoy not only ZVT, but StarCraft in general right now in terms of balance.
Yep.
One last quick question, real quick. Do you think it's harder to go against a 2-base or a 3-base Terran? Like the guy who goes, he goes Hellions, but he goes quick 3-base, or the guy who goes early Hellbats and 2-base?
It's harder to face 2-base pressures, for sure. Especially if they deny scouting quite well, then it's extremely hard.
I feel I do the best. I'd say I probably have a 90% win rate when I do 2-base, but when I try to go for that faster and just go macro, that's when I get flown around by Mutalisks. But again, lower league, so none of that. I think we're almost out of questions. Let me look. Yeah. So I guess we're gonna wrap it up. If any of you guys have something you want to get off your chest. Cricket, awkward turtle. Nope. All right, cool. So
amazingly, no.
I think we had to shout out some really great things. Quick recap. We talked about unions in esports, where we need to go as far as the protection of players and the development of ourselves as an international community, and how we're going to take the next step to growth, to betterment, and protection. Because as ReDeYe very, very eloquently pointed out, there are a lot of risks and there are a lot of potential bad things that can happen. We talked about ZVZ a bit. We talked about balance as far as the game, and we very much agree it is a good state of balance. We are in a position right now where it is skill that's determining who's taking the championships. We talked a little bit about business, esports, StarCraft 2 specifically, being free to play. What models can Blizzard take to go with that? Is it viable? I think that there are so few. If you look at the percentage, I meet about every 5 people. 2 play competitive, 3 play just bought the game to play it because they played it as a kid. I believe that you have a smaller market to sustain if you make the competitive version free to play, and I think that's something we can definitely look into, and that Blizzard needs to look into. Everyone, if you want to see ReDeYe become the next commissioner of the World Esports Federation, start the Reddit post, Team Liquid, get it up on League of Legends, Counter-Strike, StarCraft. He's got my vote, and hell, I'll quit my job and join him. So, keep that in mind. Pressure him for that. And I'm looking forward to seeing the events come up. Take TV announced a new Home Story Cup. That's November 13th through 16th. It's going to be a blast. There's always a great show. I almost think I will cancel all plans just to do that. BlizzCon coming up, so we're going to be talking more about that as things come through. And last but not least, Twitter's, once again, Beef, what's your Twitter?
coL.Beef.
Beef. ReDeYe, what's your Twitter?
At Paul Challoner, CHALONER.
Actually, let's reverse this. Beef, shoutouts.
Well, as always, shout out to my organization, Complexity, all of our sponsors, Sound Blaster, Cyberpower PC, Newegg, Corsair, Creative, DX Racers, Scuff Gaming, and Twitch. Thanks for having me here. Jared, Gosu Pizza, ReDeYe, everybody else. Kane, Destiny, thanks for being here, guys. And, check out our organization, ComplexityGaming.com.
Really glad to have you, Beef. Thanks for coming. ReDeYe.
Just thanks to all the guys that I work with at ESL for putting up with me, because I know I'm a pain in the ass most of the time, and they do love me, which is nice. And to all the fans that keep making esports great and keep coming to all the tournaments and supporting all the things that ESL and pretty much everyone else is doing in esports as well. I always like to thank them, because I think without the fans, I don't think this would be anywhere near as big as it is right now. So heartfelt thanks to the people that tune in and support everything.
Excellent. Kane, what about you?
Big shout out to my Insanity, the house that I'm staying at right now. Big shout out to our sponsors, Bison Group, Esports Clothing, and Logitech. And thank you for having me on the show. I watched it a couple weeks ago, and it looked really fun, so I'm glad that I got an invite.
really glad to have you on, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
I want to first of all thank the guests. Beef, thank you. I had a great time with him in was that one Atlanta? No, yeah, it was Atlanta. Detroit, yeah.
Detroit.
Great time with him and the other Complexity guys in Detroit. QXC's been on here before. We went out too. Kane, it was really great meeting you. Was that Detroit as well, Kane?
Detroit, yes.
Yep. Met Kane. ReDeYe, I've never met you in person, but we've communicated a bit. I did an interview with ReDeYe actually, and I'll try to pull it up while we're doing this. It was over Counter-Strike Go, and he kind of gave an introduction to CSGO, and that's actually a multi-parter. We've got one down. You can go to ggmaster.com and find that. I also linked in the chat a guide that I did with Scarlett over her 2-base Nidus Swarm host with that she did against Parting, which, real quick, Kane, what'd you think of that game?
Scarlet versus Parting, which one?
The second one, the Nidus Swarm host.
Yeah, I actually saw the interview, and it was really interesting why she did it and how she did it. And it's definitely a strategy that I've been thinking of trying out.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch. So if you guys want to check out guides like that, I get together with a lot of pros since I don't have all the full knowledge to make the higher level guides. Check them out, ggmaster.com. You can also check out some of my writing on esportsmax.com. And again, thank you guys for coming. Also, big shout out to Esportsify, our new sponsor. You can use the code ALIVEGAME and get off 10% for life if you use them. So please check them out. They're the guys who run Xfire. One of their founders started it. So give them a shout out. Check them out. And lastly, please follow me on Twitter so I can feel relevant at LikeandGTV. If you guys don't have anything else, that's going to wrap us up.
Yep. Thank you very much for having me on, and thanks for doing the show. Keep it going.
Definitely.
We need more shows for StarCraft.
Absolutely. Check out Desro's show, Remax. I think it's tomorrow.
Yep. I'll be there.
Yep, Kane will be there. Have a good night, guys.